the end of time.
O'clock.
Iced coffee, it's good in there.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. We're talking about putting vodka in iced coffee.
Hi. Well, I just had some coffee left over. So
Yeah,
I was
you
thinking,
can do it.
hey, I was all right.
You can do it.
That's right. I have had vodka and coffee before.
You can put whiskey in it too.
Well, yeah, I know. I used to do that all the time. But
Irish
like,
coffee type. What do you
But
call it?
I don't know. We don't have much creamer left. All we have is a little bit of the peppermint mocha and a little bit
You have Chobani.
of that Chobani, which I don't love it.
No.
You have to put a lot of sugar in there, like, to make that taste.
Actually, I'm getting where I put just a little bit. If I put too much sugar, it's too fucking sweet.
good. I put 2 sugars.
All right, let's get to this shit here. We're talking about the Pulse nightclub shooting.
Oh, CB says Jenny looking sexy in the red wig. This is new. I just got that. Tom just got me this today.
How about that? Yeah.
So.
Give him a side view. Other way. Yeah. There you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know which way it is
All
because
right.
the thing is
Yeah.
confusing me.
Yeah. It's red and black.
Yeah, well, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're colorblind.
He
then
just
you
said it was
can't.
red. It's not just red. It's red.
Well, I mean, black
Yeah.
is a given. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But yeah, so Jeff Yard says, thank you guys for doing this episode. I knew we would probably get around to doing this eventually because, like I said, this is kind of personal because this is local to us.
Yeah.
And this
we were
club-
out this night.
And this club is only like a couple of blocks away
Yeah.
from... I had actually never been to Pulse, but I had been to other clubs like around that, you know what I mean? And we were very much in the...
I think we did go to Pulse. Remember that?
We might
remember
have.
Before it was called Pulse. I think it was called something else. Remember Mini Me? He was
No,
spinning.
that wasn't it.
That wasn't the same place.
No, because Pulse opened in 2004.
Okay.
And this, yeah.
Well, wasn't that the same place though?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
I don't think it was
It
the
wasn't a
same
gay
place.
night that Mini Me was spinning. He was spinning. What was it? Dubstep.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that
It was dead. Went
it
in
was
there. Went in there and
terrible.
looked, and the shit was fucking dead.
Yeah.
But okay, Pulse was in that area though. It was something. It might
Yeah.
have been that club. It was just
Like,
that
it's in
area.
the same area. It's not that far from Ibar. I think you can walk there.
Yeah, you can walk. It's
From
about
there.
a block.
I think it's like 2-ish blocks, something like that. But Ben said, don't suppose it's still open. It is not.
It's probably not even there
The
anymore.
building is still there.
It is.
What they're trying to do is that for a time, like the 2 people that owned it, they opened it in 2004, and they started a charity kind of fund, and they were going to make a memorial there, and then the city of Orlando offered to buy it and put a memorial there. So as far as I know, I just checked, and the last news I heard about it was December 2024. The city of Orlando is trying to like raise enough money they're going to raise the building and put a memorial there, like to
Yeah.
all the victims. So that's what they're trying to do. But as far as I know, they haven't done it yet. So the building is actually still there, but it's obviously not open anymore. Yeah, they are trying to make it a memorial, but it hasn't happened yet, sadly. You know what I mean. So, yeah, Zach says, that's a different hairdo for you, Jen. Don't think I've seen you in something that wavy before.
Yep.
I have a couple wavy ones, but they tend not to look that good on me. This one's not so much wavy as kind of,
It's all feathered looking.
yeah, like feathered looking.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I don't have
Yeah.
one like this.
Here,
so
turn
so we wanted to
sideways.
see
That's
what
it looks like.
no one
yeah.
needs to see my profile. Okay, it's
Yeah.
just
There you go.
I'm
It
not
looks
real
good.
into that. Yeah,
It looks good.
yeah.
No,
I would-
all the kids are wearing that.
All the kids are wearing that, so my old ass has to
Yeah,
wear
all
it
the
too.
kids are wearing it.
Oh my god. Yeah, CB said earlier that he thinks this motherfucker just like Dick and was afraid to admit it. I kind of feel like that might have been at least partly or mostly the motivation. They don't actually know exactly why he did this. They basically either call it a terrorist attack / hate crime because they're not really sure. It's like he could have had both reasons. They're not entirely sure. Because the thing about it was that even though he called the cops while he was doing it and was making like terrorists like pledging to ISIS and everything like that, he was making all these statements pledging allegiance to like these terrorist groups that hate each other. So
he was just pledged allegiance to all of them.
To just whatever. And
Yeah.
I saw like a pretty in-depth interview with his first wife, who actually divorced him, a few years before this happened.
She was Middle Eastern?
Well, she was American, but she was
Middle Eastern origin?
Yeah, she's Middle Eastern origin. I guess her
Yeah.
parents or her grandparents were. But she seemed really nice and really cool and everything. And she was like, because they said, well, do you think he had anything to do with that? She's like, nah. She's like, I basically think he just said that to upset people because he knew that would make people afraid. She's like, I think that was the only reason that he said it.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't really have... And honestly, like, the FBI, like, even looked into his background, like, even before this happened. Because he went to the same mosque as this guy that did, like, a suicide bombing or something. And he was, like, acquaintances with that guy. So they did, like, look into it, but they couldn't find any evidence that he was involved with any of those groups. So I'm not really sure. Like I said, it does kind of seem more likely. I don't know. He's a weird dude. And honestly, like, the more I looked into his past, because I didn't really know that much about him, like, growing up or anything, this dude seemed like just a jackhole from childhood. I mean, he just seemed like a violent jerk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He used to get in trouble in school, like, all the time, like, which we'll get into all the time. He was just very violent, very misogynistic, very aggressive. So he just seemed like a shithead from birth, pretty much. So any one of a number of things could have triggered him off, I suppose. And honestly, now we'll never know because the motherfucker's dead, thankfully.
Well, I can throw my 2 cents in here and there. Lived in Egypt for about a year. Half my family, like my whole mother's side of the family, lived in Isfahan, Iran, before the fall of the Shah, before the revolution, back in the 70s. And then a lot of the members, a lot of my mom's sisters and their American husbands all live in the Middle East. A lot of them, like UAE and Dubai. 2 of my uncles are Task Force 160 Special Operations Aviations, and they're kind of like, they worked for Delta, and but they were the pilots, and they're executive chopper pilots for, let's just say, kind of royal family type people. They're chopper pilots and bodyguards for them. They're a couple years older than me. Those dudes are late 50s, and they're just fucking jacked to the gills. They look great. And they live in UAE and Dubai. So I know the culture. Got Arabic friends, and the stereotypes are true with every group of people, but Americans kind of have certain stereotypes about the Middle East. They're not all the same. They're different. They're conservative in general. Certain things that Western people do, they don't like. Now, they can tolerate it sometimes. A lot of them are just kind of moderate. They don't really care. And some of them just are not religious at all. They're just kind of, they don't give a shit. But other ones get kind of uptight and do shit like this. But I think when they do shit like this, it's several things that fucking happens. Guilt, trying to atone for sin, and trying to look like a holy warrior. Like they're trying to make the world right. That kind of shit. But man, there's always usually something about atonement in this. They did something wrong, so they're going to sacrifice themselves, try to make it up to God type of deal.
Yeah, he didn't kill himself, though. The cop shot him. So
It's the same thing.
yeah, it's suicide by cop.
Suicide by
That's
cop,
essentially
yeah.
what it was.
Same thing.
Because I don't think he was planning on leaving.
No, he was fighting to the death.
Yeah. CB points out, I'm not ashamed to admit I've been sucked off by drag queens in the past. I'm not gay, I just ain't gonna turn down BJ. Hey,
Who said that?
CB.
CB fucking funny. Yeah.
That's whatever, man.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all good.
Sometimes shit might happen.
It's all good. You know what I mean?
Just
like
as long
I said,
as nobody's feelings are hurt.
like I said, as long as everyone's consenting adults and no one's feelings are hurt, it has zero to do with me, and I could not care less.
Yeah.
Like, just go to town, do whatever the fuck you want.
I just kind of go by the fucking rules of as long as you don't fucking take it seriously, it's all fun and games.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
It's all fun and games.
Pretty much.
It's only as serious as you fucking want it to be.
Sure. That's what I mean. So
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it. So I can't imagine why anyone else would be worried about it. Like I said, this dude, I kind of feel like it was mostly, he was probably closeted.
Yeah.
Because all the terrorist shit that he said, I think he just said that to like, ooh, I'm a scary Muslim terrorist or whatever. And it's like, I don't really think he had any formal association with any of that shit.
A lot of them don't, though.
But and he did seem to be...
It's like a cultural thing.
Yeah, like that. But, like, his parents weren't like that, and, like, his, other people that he knew weren't like that. But, like I said, he kind of just seemed overall just like an asshole. Yeah. Like, from an early age.
Yeah.
So, which, like I said, we'll get into, which I actually didn't know. I didn't really know much about his past or anything like that. But, yeah, so this, kind of, like I said, struck a chord for us because this is our neck of the woods. And I didn't personally know anybody that was killed that night. But we do know people that used to frequent that place that could have been there, so it's kind of struck home, and so it was kind of a bummer, like, for a long time. And I mean, it was kind of cool. It does seem like for a while after it happened, like, everybody in Orlando, like, they lit up Lake Eola, like, in rainbow colors and all this other kind of stuff, like, in support for it, but that probably all went to shit like later. But you know what I mean, it was kind of nice for a time. It felt like everybody was kind of coming together, but we see how that turned out. But yeah, so okay, so we'll get into this here a little bit, I guess. So I don't know. Do I need another? I guess I don't need another drink before we get.
I can get
before we get started. It's getting kind of watery.
All right.
It's not that I drink really fast. It's just that I get my drink ready like 45 minutes like before the show, so I can lube up a little bit. You know what I mean? So yeah. So this happened back in 2016, in June actually, and at the time, it was the worst mass shooting in American history, at least as far as like a lone mass shooter. Like, obviously there have been worse mass shootings, because I was looking at other ones and they said, oh, shit like Wounded Knee and shit like that. It's like that would obviously be a lot more, but since that was military or militia or something like that, they don't count it. But for a time, well, for a year, about a year and a half, this was the worst mass shooting in American history until October of 2017, when the Las Vegas shooting came along, which had more victims. So that's pretty special. So this one, actually, there were 49 fatalities. The 50th was the shooter himself. There were also 53 people injured, many quite critically. Some of them were in the hospital for like months and months. So as I said, Pulse was primarily a gay bar. It was opened in 2004. And the night that this happened was a Saturday night, and that was usually their Latin night. So, I think they did that pretty much every Saturday, like back then. And that was like one of their most popular nights.
Playing Latin music?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a primarily like Hispanic crowd. Not all, but you know what I mean. And even though this happened fairly close to closing, because I think in downtown Orlando, you have to close by 2:30, right? Yeah, 2:30 a.m., like pretty sure. Because this happened like pretty close to closing, but the club was still pretty full. I think there was 320 people in there when the dude came in. So yeah, as I was saying, worst mass shooting until the Las Vegas shooting about a year and a half later. Now the thing about it, I was reading about and this was also the worst attack on LGBT people in the United States history, surpassing, sadly, the upstairs lounge arson in New Orleans. That was in 1973.
Just somebody poured the gasoline in the store?
Set a gay club on fire.
Yeah, with the gasoline can.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And 32 people died in that.
Yeah, there was only one way in and out of the place, and I think he put the gasoline can right by the door where the stairs went down, and it was wood. The whole place burned up quickly, and that was a gay dude that did that, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember who did it, but
yeah, I think it was a gay. It wasn't. I don't think you call it like a hate crime per se.
But the fucked up thing about it was that very unlike what happened after the Pulse shooting. When this happened back in 1973. Nobody, like the mayor of New Orleans, nobody came out and said anything about it. Like, oh, nothing, even like thoughts and prayers or any of that bullshit. They didn't say anything like that. They didn't even mention it. And a lot of churches wouldn't even do the funerals of like the victims and stuff.
Well, it's the South.
I'm like, wow, that's shitty.
Yeah,
Like,
in
I
the
know it was
seven-
the 70s.
In the
but yeah,
70s, too, yeah, the South. That was
super shitty.
They just ignored all that. Anything
Yeah.
that was real sinful, they were ashamed of it, so they ignored it. I don't think it was so much like, well, fuck those people. I think they were just kind of like, oh, no, that never happens here in the Quarter. Yeah, the French Quarter's got a lot of gay people in it.
Yeah,
They make a lot of
course.
money over here. They just were trying to pretend like that didn't happen. That was just the way the Southerners of that generation thought. Well, we don't want to call attention to that. They would have done the same thing if it was a whorehouse.
I mean, they'll be dead soon.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they were all dead. They were old in the 70s.
Yeah. That's pretty
Yeah.
fucked up. I'm just saying. But that
They
was
were old in the
that was
70s,
the
they're all
worst
dead.
one, at least against LGBT people since
Yeah.
like until Pulse. So you know.
A lot of duality in the Southern mentality, especially down around New Orleans area, Gulf Coast.
Yeah.
It's party town. Party town in a place that has a pretty strong Southern Baptist fucking background to it. So there's a lot of duality, you know. They love sin. They'll go to church afterwards too.
Yeah, of course.
It's
they will.
okay. There's no fucking conflict in it. I grew up every summer of my life in Mississippi, you know. And yeah, you did whatever you wanted, man. Fucking sexual activity, fucking underage, you know, the fucking teenagers and shit, fucking out drinking in the woods and fucking getting it on and shit like a pack of wild dogs and shit. And then they'd go to fucking church on Sunday. But it didn't matter. It's kind of like, you know.
It's kind of hilarious
That
that
wasn't-
they don't find that hypocritical.
No, of course not.
Because normal people find that hypocritical.
No,
I'm from the South, and I find that very
Yeah.
hypocritical.
Well, the thing is that you're assuming that those churches are about purity, and they weren't.
Well, no, I don't assume that.
They were just happy clappies. They were happy clappies. They never even got into people what you did with sex or anything like that. They didn't care. You know, fucking. What was that shit we used to go to? Fucking vacation Bible camp. That was a time to fucking make out with teenage girls. That's what that was all about. Fucking those kids would be getting it on. It's just like in fucking Friday the 13th at the fucking camp. It was like that. So no, they weren't prudish. That's just a concept of. That's an outsider's concept of fucking no. Southern Baptist fucking religious people in the South are wild.
I know that. I'm
They're
not an
fucking wild.
outsider. I'm from the South.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But I'm just saying, you know, California and New York wouldn't think that. They would think that they were like.
I'm from the South. But
They
I'm
would think
fucking
that they
normal.
were-
I don't think like that.
There's a fucking surface level face, a public face.
Yeah, I know.
But between friends, nah.
Like I said, hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Which I don't like. Ben says, "Where is this?" I'm not really sure. Like, I was talking about like the previous worst attack on LGBT which was in New Orleans in 1973. It was an arson fire. Like a dude like set a gay club on fire and killed 32 people. There was also that fucking Eric Rudolph shithead. He was the guy that did the Olympic Park bombing. That just anti-abortion fucker. He bombed a gay club too in 1997. So yeah, there was that. I don't remember how many people it killed though. So this particular weekend we were arguing about this, but I can't really remember. I thought, because this was a Saturday night, I thought we were at iBar when this happened.
No. It's not how I remember it. I don't want to fight over it though.
Well, no, I'm not going to fight about it because
Okay.
I might be remembering it wrong.
I think you're remembering it wrong.
I thought, because I know that there was one night
We did not stay out-
where we came from something
Yeah.
and we went downtown and we ate at that Mexican
Yeah.
place or whatever.
And then we
And
didn't
then
go.
we were gonna go to iBar,
We
and
didn't.
you had some things like the zipper on your pants broke
Yeah,
and all
no,
this
so
other
man,
kind of
there's
shit.
something
And he's just
wrong.
like, I don't really want to be
something-
down here. I don't like the vibe.
Yeah, the vibe is
And
wrong.
so we went home,
Yeah.
and he's thinking that's the night that this happened, and it very well might have been.
It was.
I thought I remembered that we were downtown when this happened because I thought somebody
No.
came running down the street and said, "There's a shooting like down the." I thought somebody
No,
said that.
that shooting was the dude that got shot out in front of the fucking nightclub. Fucking what was it? What's the nightclub? 2 doors up. The dude got killed right there.
Oh yeah, shit.
That's what that was. This
Oh,
dude just
okay.
got shot over there, and oh yeah, and fucking people. You know, that's not a big deal here in the South. They go, yeah, where? Who's dead? There was just a shooting right across from the place we're talking about. It's on video where black kid fucking ran through a crowd of other black people, shot like 6 of them, right in front of the cops, and the cops grabbed him. You see it on camera, like what?
it was weird.
How does this motherfucker think he's gonna get away? he didn't even fight to the death. The cops jumped on him and he dropped the gun. The first dude he shot wasn't even looking at him. He was just standing there like that. And dude walked up and pow, shot him in the side of the head. And then he ran through just randomly shooting people. Yeah. And he was like 16. You know, like, if I remember correctly, 16, 17.
Kid crazy.
Dumb.
Yeah.
So, and then that bouncer that we knew was fucking holding the door shut. And that guy was trying to shoot through the door of that 22, remember?
Yeah,
right in front of the police station. The police fucking got
because the police station was literally like 3 doors
like right
down
there.
from
It's like
Ibar,
right there,
like around the corner.
He didn't know where he was.
Like I said, it was Ibar,
Yeah.
pizza place, parking garage,
Yeah.
police station.
I forgot that guy's name. He was a bartender. He was a bouncer. I was kind of friends with a little bit for a while. He ended up being working at a gator farm. Remember?
Yeah,
he was
that's
doing
right.
all the gator tricks. Like
Yeah, I
putting his
remember
head in
him
the, like he ended up doing that.
That was pretty funny.
He kicked the dude out. He was drunk, being an ass. Kicked him out, and dude went out to the parking lot, went to his fucking trunk, pulled out a pistol, 22 caliber pistol, which isn't common here, you know. And went up there to the fucking door and tried to go in with a pistol. And he's shutting the door like that, and he's fucking trying to shoot through the door. But, you know, it was a big, heavy door, and 22 pistols, fucking not strong enough to go through it. And the cops got him. Cops ran up behind him, pulled a gun on him. And then up the street, too, was the dude who fucking was just wasted. They got that on video. He's wasted at the fucking bar, and his head pulls down, and he pulls a gun out and puts it on the bar. Like that. He was drunk. And they called the cops, and he got up, started walking out, and the cops shot at him and killed the fucking waitress that worked there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And that dude just standing there like that. He didn't even point a gun at the cop. The cop gunned him down. He was so drunk, he didn't know where he was.
Yeah, that was pretty fucking special.
Yep.
Just innocent person standing there doing their fucking job.
Yep. Guns, of course, are legal here, and if you can legally purchase a pistol, you can carry it concealed. So
Not in a bar, you can't.
You can't do it in a bar. There's a bunch of stipulations. You can't do it in a bar. You can do it in a restaurant that serves alcohol, but not hard liquor. If you get involved in even in a self-defense shooting and you come up hot, you're drunk, that's going to be an issue in court. There's all kinds of shit that could happen. So if you do carry your pistol, you have to understand all the legal ramifications.
I mean, just seems like best.
I rarely carry, very rarely, because I know where I'm going and I'm not threatened by anything.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's
As long as you know where you're going, you're all right.
You know, if you were going out in the middle of the woods camping, sure. But it's like, I just feel like it'd be too much.
If I was going to go into a high crime area for some reason, I wouldn't go. But if I had to go, I might carry. But we never go to those places.
Yeah. I don't usually worry about it, honestly.
Yeah. We have them handy at house, but I don't take them out much. How many? You probably only seen me carry one. Maybe the time we together, maybe about 3-4 times, maybe, huh?
I don't even think that many
Maybe
times.
2-3 times. Yeah.
I've never seen you take it any place.
Yeah.
Like I said, we never go anywhere where you feel like we would.
Well, I've had it in my pocket riding a bike.
Yeah, like I could see that, but
Yeah.
like I said, the only time I would feel like I would need it, like I said, if we were going out camping, like in the middle of the fucking woods or something like that.
I got several pistols, 9s, 40s, and 380s. I'm normally carrying a 380 if I do carry. It's a little bitty pocket pistol. Taurus TPC 380. 7 rounds. Real thin. It just vanishes. It's light. You can just put it in a pocket of a jacket or something and it'll disappear. But never had to use it.
Phantom says a show about Prohibition-era bootleggers would be a cool show.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. That would be actually really interesting.
That's where hot rodding came from.
Yeah, that's right.
Guys hot rodding those cars carrying booze.
Yeah.
Trying to outrun the cops.
On
dirt roads.
So, yeah.
It was dirt roads back then in the South.
Well, yeah, that's how they started.
Yeah.
Well, that's how they started doing, like, that's why all that NASCAR shit is in Daytona now, because they started racing on the beach.
Oh, yeah.
And you can still drive on the beach, I think, as far as I know.
Yeah.
You could always drive on the beach when I was growing up. Most beaches you can't because it fucks your beach up, but they still let you do it. Not through the whole thing, but, like, parts of Daytona Beach you can. So, yeah, all right. So, let's get into this. So, I remembered that I had forgotten about this until I was reading an article about the Pulse shooting. And they said, it's interesting because either the night before this happened or the morning that it happened, there was actually another shooting in Orlando. It was that girl, like that singer that was on The Voice named Christina Grimmie, and she was actually shot and killed by like an obsessed fan. She was out like signing autographs and stuff, and he just came up and shot her and killed her. And that happened just like a few hours before the Pulse thing, so everyone was kind of freaking out about that. And then this fucking shit happened like the next day. So there was a Saturday night. It was June 11th. Everything says it's happened June 12th, but that's because it was after midnight. You know what I mean? So everybody was going out June 11th. It was a Saturday night. And Pulse, which is, like I said, a largely, as far as I know, is exclusively gay nightclub. And they might have had other nights. I'm not entirely sure. But they were doing Latin Night. That was their weekly Saturday night that they did. Very, very popular. So at the time that this happened, there were about 320 people in the club. And it was last call, so it was about 2 in the morning. Like I said, I'm pretty sure downtown Orlando makes you close by 2:30. So last call is usually around 2 o'clock. And that's what happened. So it's about that time. Now, the guy that did this shit, Omar Mateen, he actually drove a van to the place and then walked up to it on foot. Now, he had a 6 Sauer semi-automatic rifle and a 9mm Glock pistol. I'm not sure if they were visible. I assume that they were, because as he was approaching the building, there was a police officer from the OPD who was off duty, but he was working as a security guard, and he saw him and he tried to like say like, "Hey bro, what are you doing?" or something like that, and the dude just ignored him and walked into the club and basically just started opening fire. Now, the crazy thing about this, and it
was a rifle, wasn't it?
I just said he had a 6 Sauer semi-automatic rifle and a 9mm Glock.
Okay.
Automatic, semi-automatic
6
pistol.
Sauer. He must have been an AR-15 copy. Sig makes an AR-15 copy.
But that's what he had. He had two firearms.
Okay.
But yeah, he just walked in and started opening fire. Now the fucked up thing about this, and if you look on like or watch documentaries about it or anything, well, obviously it's 2016, so everybody has cell phones, and so there's a lot of there's this really upsetting video of like this girl that was like filming. She was just there like with a bunch of her friends, and they were filming themselves like putting it up on fucking Snapchat or whatever, and then you can hear gunshots in the background, and a lot of people didn't know what it was because the music was really loud. It was kind of dark in there. Now a couple people did know what it was, like recognized it and like hit the dirt like pretty much immediately. But for a long time, people were like, "What the fuck was that noise?" You know what I mean? Because like I said, the music's really loud in there. So and it was kind of chaos.
And look, in this area in Florida, the gay clubs are the best clubs. All right, we would fucking host or promote goth nights in some of the off nights in these gay clubs where it wasn't a gay night; it was going to be a goth night, but it was happening in a club.
Goth/fetish.
Goth fetish type stuff, but it's happening in a club that was primarily like a gay nightclub. But man, they were great. You know what I mean? The dance floors, the lights, the way they're decorated the inside, the staff, the bartenders are awesome. And then as the night goes on, you know what I mean, as it rolls on out over the months, you know, the word gets out. A lot of gay people show up to look at the goth kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're cool too, you know. But so places like this, if you don't know the scene, a nightclub like Pulse would have been, anybody could go. A lot of girls in there, straight girls. But I have straight guys in there hanging out with the girlfriends who went because they're gay friends there or what, that kind of shit. So it's not, when you say gay club, it's not explicitly gay.
Yeah.
It's not just gay people. It's mostly gay with straight people in it too. So and they're fun, real fun clubs, and relatively safe. There's never any fighting there. For the most part.
Well, and that happens with the goth crowd too, and I think that's probably why the Pulse shooting like kind of hit me so hard, particularly because there's a lot of overlap in the gay scene and the goth scene. Like I said, there's a lot of overlap. Like a lot of people go to both kinds of places.
Yeah.
And I think there's also a perception in both scenes that the nightclub scene that's your safe place. Like you go there and you can be what you're like, and like no one's gonna make fun of you or beat you up or anything like that. And so I feel like the fact that this happened at a place that so many people felt like that about was like really, really shitty.
Another thing is that places like this are not meat markets. Okay.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Your average straight club's a fucking meat market. Okay. It's not really a meat market.
I never went to
those people don't even know each other. They're not even regulars. They just go to there to fuck. Some of the gay clubs are like that, fucking the Leather Daddy Club. But the thing is even they are regulars.
Yeah.
In clubs like this, everybody knows everybody. So you go there and it's kind of like seeing family, or it's like seeing an extended family. How you been, man? You know. So that's what's happening in there.
Yeah,
Y'all know each other.
It's definitely a community in a way that a lot of just regular meat market straight clubs are not. Any kind of subculture that is based around nightclubs, the way the goth scene is, the way the gay scene is, you're gonna get that. Like, so people thinking this is their second home, they can go there, they can have time, they spend time with their friends. No one's gonna pick on them or anything like that. So I think the fact that this happened in a place like that, where, like I said, all these people were regulars, they all kind of knew each other, and it was just kind of heartbreaking to see, because after it happened, that was 49 people dead, and a lot of people in Orlando, like the whole gate, it's like everybody knew them. You know what I mean? So it's just like, that was really fucked up, and it was just really, really fucking sad.
Yeah, that's 50 regulars. They probably all knew each other for years.
Of course.
Yeah.
Zach says the gay bar I go to is 100% a meat market.
Yeah. They're out there.
Yeah, it depends. Like I said, we go to some gay bars like on particular nights because, like I said, there's a lot of overlap. I don't know how it is in other cities, but that's what Orlando is.
In Boston, they had one off Fenway called the fucking Ramrod, and the Ramrod was a gay leather daddy fucking meat market. I got off on the wrong stop one time, and I was all gothed out trying to go to fucking the Rathskeller. It came up out of the wrong. Says, "Well, I'll walk." I didn't want to pay to go back through the green line. And had to walk in front of the manhole. And they had fucking motorcycles, fucking Harleys and shit out there. And they were catcalling me. The dudes were catcalling me. I was like, oh shit. One of them says, "Hey, there ain't nothing like a barrel-bottom boy."
Oh, I'm gonna start calling you that.
Barrel-bottom boy.
I don't think you ever told me that.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna call you from now.
The fucking leather daddies.
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But like I said, the ones I've been to, I wouldn't know. Like I said, a lot before we got together and stuff like that, like sometimes you and your straight or bi girlfriends would go to gay bars because, like I said, you didn't get like skeezed on by creepy dudes.
Some of the hottest girls at the gay bar.
You know what I mean?
At the gay clubs.
Because you just want to go and have a drink with your friends and dance. You don't want some dude like skeeving up on your ass and shit like that all night and like having to fucking fight people off.
And in general, the gay DJs are fucking spin the fucking best music, man. Those dudes are fucking awesome. Whatever they're gonna do, they're good at it. Yeah, you know what I mean? They're mixing in fucking ABBA with fucking the Village People with fucking. They'll go through the 70s and the 80s, fucking 90s. They'll just go through it. Pretty good. It just depends on whatever the theme that night is.
Yeah. Randa says, some places are just supposed to be safe for everyone. Yeah, and I think, like I said, the club we go to, Barbarella, which is now on its third location, that's why people are still going there, like, in their 60s, is because that club was for everybody. For everybody. They don't give a shit who you are, what color you are, what gender you are. There's like nobody.
And your age.
Everybody goes, they don't care how old you are.
You got young people, old people, just everybody's cool.
Everybody's friends.
Yep, everybody's cool.
And it's like everybody just goes and hangs out. Nobody skeeves on you.
Yep.
Everybody's just cool and chill, and you just go and have a good time. And honestly, that's kind of got known for that, because I mean, it was downtown for what, like 30 years or something like that. And that was just the place. Even if you were at other clubs like earlier, like everybody would end up there. You know what I mean? At the end of the night, you could be at the gay bar, you could be at the fucking, you know, whatever, and like everybody would just end up there, and everybody would just hang out together.
Yeah,
that's what I always thought was really cool about it.
Jessica would show up. Jessica was a trans.
God, I haven't seen her in a long time.
She was a trans prostitute.
She's always getting around.
And she was very muscular. She was a bodybuilder at one time. Fucking. She was a trip, funny as fuck. And I was just, why are you doing this? She goes, I just love walking around just random dudes, them paying me for my company. She was sexualizing the whole thing about being a prostitute, a street prostitute. But she was safe though. She could fucking beat your ass. She was fucking huge.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
she was
could beat the
huge.
crap out of you.
She's probably like 6 feet, probably weighed about 220, and a lot of it muscle. In a fucking rubber mini dress and shit with heels. She'd jump out of there. I'm gonna call her she, respecting. We're talking about fucking, male to female transsexual. She'd fucking whip your ass. She's fucking big and strong. She was funny. Jessica, hadn't seen her in forever.
Yeah,
She disappeared for about a month. Where'd you go? She goes, I was in jail.
I mean, I hope she's okay. I haven't seen her in a really long time.
She was always in and out of jail.
Yeah, like I said, for soliciting.
Sucking dick. Yeah.
Ben said how many women were killed. I believe it was 4 or 5. I think one of them worked there. But there were some women there. Some people were, like I said, were there with their friends and shit like that. I think one was an employee. I could be wrong about that. But I think it was 4 or 5 women that were killed, but it was mostly men. And they were almost all younger. They were almost all in their 20s or 30s. I think there was a couple. There was one guy that was 40, and I think there was one that was 50. But I think, like, almost all of them were 20s and 30s, because it's it's a nightclub, so it's going to be like a younger crowd. I mean, a lot of people did get out, but a lot of people did not, you know what I mean? So there's that. So yeah, so the dude, he just walks in the place and starts shooting. What happened after that, I kind of feel like, I know it's kind of Monday morning quarterbacking or whatever, but it's like a lot of people kind of criticize the OPD. I mean, they responded pretty quickly, but they didn't really do much of anything while he was in there, because I think they thought that he had a bomb, or that he had hostages, because I think he told them at one point that he had a bomb, or that he was going to put bombs on people, you know what I mean, and send them out and like blow shit up. So it's like they were kind of afraid to do anything. So there's like footage, because there's lots of footage from this night, where the cops are just kind of like standing out there. So superiors told them, it's like, don't go in there, don't engage. They're not really sure what the situation was. All they knew was there was a guy in there just like shooting at people, and they didn't really know if he had a bomb or whatever the fuck, or if he had hostages. So yeah, so I mean, this was like, the whole thing started a couple minutes past 2 a.m. Like I said, the cops showed up like pretty early. But over the next, like, hour or so, they had, like, 100 cops come. It was OPD, and it was also the sheriff's office. Ooh, thank you very much, Zach, for the super chat.
Zach, send it a motherfucking money. Love you, Zach.
He said, where I go, the sound system is so loud. I was on the dance floor 20 minutes once. I was half deaf. Yeah. Even worse for the drag shows. Organs liquefied from the bass. Yeah. Been in IMAXs that aren't that
hitting that brown note.
Yeah, does anyone poop their pants? That's what Mythbusters did that.
It's not true.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be funny if it did, but
yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be funny. It would be horrible.
DJs would be trying to replicate the brown note all across fucking America.
Yeah. Ben says, aren't all nightclubs like that? Well, they're not. I mean, all of them are loud, but...
What's he talking about? Like what?
Like loud, I guess.
No.
But, I mean, I like it to be a bit loud, and usually, like, Barbarella, for example, it's loud enough that you kind of got to yell, like, if you're just talking to somebody, but it's not so loud that you're just going to get a headache the next day or anything like that.
They're all different. Some are rough, some are more suave and older clientele. Barbarella's is older clientele. That's what it's targeted
Generally,
towards. But young people come. A lot of girls come. Because it's safe for them there.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to bother them. The whole fucking bar will jump on you.
Yeah, if somebody comes
everybody knows everybody.
Causing shenanigans.
Yeah, no shenanigans. You get thrown out. You get fucking bounced. All right, and I'll help a bouncer. Jen's seen me help bouncers. I'll throw you out. I'll throw you out,
because at the old place, they did every now and then have to throw some motherfucker out that just wandered in off the street and didn't know the situation.
But I have a couple drinks on me, and I start helping. Grabbing dude's leg, throw his ass out.
So people do get thrown out. But like I said, it's just a nice, you can just kind of chill there. You don't really have to worry about it, like weirdos or creeps or anything like that, because everybody just knows everybody. And I think that even people that come in, when they see that like everybody knows everybody. They kind of are
Yeah.
on their best behavior.
The other one we go to
usually.
is mannequins. Sometimes mannequins rougher, a little more
Yeah, I don't feel safe at that place.
a little more dangerous. You don't know who's going to show up there, but it's a younger crowd. I have to fight about 1/4 of the times I go there, but I always win.
Like I said, I don't. When I go, I just want to have some drinks and dance, and I don't
She doesn't
want
want
to
to go
about
anymore.
it.
It's a Friday night. I kind of miss going there because I like that. I like that edge. I like to go to an edgy place, you know, where something could happen. It's just part of me, you know. But I like both. I like real
Yeah.
chill shit. I also like shit where there's a little where something could happen. Anything could happen in mannequins.
Yeah, I'm not.
Anything could happen.
Well, you know, I got fucking tackled, so
Yeah.
and had to push on his eyeballs, and people had to push him.
He
off.
thought you were me. I rung his
guess.
bell so bad. He got
or
confused
he
about
was
who
high
was.
as balls. I don't know what the fuck his problem was. But,
He'd been
yeah.
drinking, but we had all been drinking.
Yeah, it was fucking crazy. So yeah, I'm not averse to going there.
Yeah.
It's just
Every time we show up, it's like celebrities, man. The fucking bartender's all like, "You're back."
I
and
know
all
you're
that kind-
back.
Yeah, all that kind.
I'm
Yeah.
like, well, if this place wasn't so shitty, maybe it's not shitty. It's just
Paul can spin good nights and he can spin bad nights. It just depends.
Yeah,
on
it's just kinda
who's out
off
there.
and
He's
on,
playing to the crowd.
and like I said, you never know who's gonna show up. Sometimes it's all cool people. Sometimes
Sometimes
it's all
you got shitbags.
It's sometimes
Rednecks
it's
out on the
all
dance floor
jack
fucking up.
rods.
You have rednecks on the dance floor in a goth club chasing all the goths off. That'll
Yeah.
happen.
like
Yeah.
people molesting people. It's
Yeah.
just you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, Jen's ass gets grabbed there. That's how the fights start.
Yeah, well, that's happened multiple times.
Yeah,
I
and
said,
every
so-
one of them ended up with me fighting a dude.
Yeah, so I'm just like not happy about it.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I just like to go and dance. I don't want to have to worry about
Yeah.
fending off some dipshit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It just stresses me out, and I don't want to be stressed out. I just want to go out and have a good time.
Now, here's the thing, in case you guys are wondering, guns are legal here. You cannot take them into a nightclub or serving alcohol. Most of the nightclubs that where a rough crowd could be there, where there's danger, somebody might take a gun in there, they have metal detectors. So they hit you with the wand and they pat you down before you go in. So the guns, there's no guns in there. Except Tom's got some, and he owns the place. He's armed. But it's his club. He has the right to do that. He's the
Yeah.
business owner.
Yeah. All right. Are you?
Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't sure if you were
Yeah, yeah.
just gonna say something else. Okay.
Uh,
All right. So I did see some videos that have been taken from inside the club, like when the shit was happening, because people, like I said, were posting and texting and shit like that, and then I had to turn it off because it was upsetting me too much. But yeah, like at first they hear gunshots. A lot of people didn't know what it was at first, as you wouldn't. Some people did and like hit the floor and stuff, but people started, once people figured it out, or like, and some people said they looked over and they saw the dude because he was just over there shooting, and so then they started panicking and everybody started running for the exits. There was a guy who was a Marine veteran, and he was working. He was a bouncer, and
I remember him.
He knew it was gunfire.
Yeah.
And so he basically like jumped over a door, and there was a bunch of people like ducked down, like hiding behind there, and he like kicked open a door and like let a bunch of people out.
Is that the guy who he had a rifle in his trunk and was trying to figure out how to go out there?
Oh,
and
I
get
don't
it?
know.
I think that
But he got a bunch of people out.
yeah. If I remember correctly, that guy had a rifle in his trunk and
Yeah.
was trying to figure out how he could get to it, but he couldn't get to it. He didn't bring it for his job. It just happened to be there.
He just happened to have it.
He just happened to
yeah.
have it, yeah. Which
But
that
it's-
happens if you're going to and from the range, and sometimes you just have it in your trunk.
The scary thing about this is that after this happened, I think the week after this happened, we went to Ibar the following Saturday,
Yeah.
and it was just in the back of my mind the whole time, like what would happen if somebody just like walked in here and started
Yeah.
fucking opening fire.
Yeah, and all the bouncers were like, "Fucking dude, we're thinking about fucking stashing."
I mean,
fucking-
everybody was freaking out.
They were
about
thinking
it.
about stashing folding stock assault rifles and shit. In certain
People
places.
did still come out though, like
Yeah.
not as many as normally would, because some people were scared, and I can't blame them.
Yeah.
But I was like, "Fuck that! I'm not letting that motherfucker
Yeah.
like keep me from going out."
Look,
Yeah.
for foreign people, you're hearing in the news, you hear all this shooting and shit. It happens, all right? And in the South, per capita is very violent. Although if you look at the total numbers of homicides, it's nothing compared to like some of the bigger cities, up in North and everything. But it's not real common. If you're living just a normal life, you're never going to see anybody get shot. You won't even never probably see guns. If you go to places that attract fucking shifty crowds, including, downtown, around the clubs. Yeah, there's dudes fucking skirking around in the shadows fucking with pistols. Now, they might be dealing drugs. They may not be trying to... They're not trying to shoot people. They're just trying to defend themselves if they get robbed. But then you got some dudes that are just in there and fucking did like that other kid did. He just, for some reason, decided he was going to start shooting people. It was a black dude decided he was going to shoot all these other black people. Didn't make any sense. Nobody knew who he was.
Yeah, it was weird for sure.
It was a weird one, yeah.
I don't understand, like, the motivation.
Yeah.
You're
right.
It's like, oh, I'm having problems, so I'm just going to, like, kill some random people.
Yeah.
Like, how is that going to help anything?
Although sometimes if you hear that one person was shot, it doesn't necessarily mean that something bad happened. That dude might have been bad. Okay? And he got shot. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you were... Sometimes that's a good thing. Yeah, dude got shot. He fucking deserved it. He did this and that dude happened to be armed and fucking... He defended his wife. That kind of deal. You never know until you
you always
actually
have to,
look
like
at
I said, you always have to know those fucking circumstances.
You got to know the circumstances, right? Yeah.
It's just kind of like, for example, when I wrote my Faceless Villain books and I'm working on another one, it's like I usually will leave out murders that are technically unsolved, but they're like, yeah, this dude was like a drug dealer or he had killed another person and then he got popped. I'm just like, well, that's still technically an unsolved murder, but it's like we know why that happened.
He's a high risk dude.
We know why that happened.
That lifestyle.
So it's just kind of like there's no mystery there, even though they don't know the exact person that did it.
If you're a professional criminal, the chances of you getting killed are very high.
Are very high, yes.
Yeah.
So it's just like, so to me, I would rather write about, victims that were just innocent victims, like some asshole just like busted into their house and killed them or something like that, where it's just like, because that seems like a more deserving victim, I guess. I was like I said, if you're like a fucking murderer yourself or run some criminal empire and you get shot, I can't feel too bad about it. You know what I mean?
If you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
That's what I'm saying. I can't feel too bad about it. That's why I tend to leave those out unless there's some kind of weird, questionable circumstance about it. But that's kind of why.
And that applies to me, too. When I decided to become a soldier, that's living by the sword. And I expected to die by the sword. Didn't happen. But that's the mentality. You can't get involved in that game unless you're willing to die. Because chances are you will. If you're in combat long enough, eventually you'll be killed.
Phantom said Tom had to fend himself off in a nightclub bathroom from some trans person trying to throat hug his his schwanz.
She was okay, though.
Which was a great story.
She was okay, yeah.
I mean, she was just...
Yeah, she's just
the
trying...
opportunity presented itself.
The opportunity presented itself. She was trying to fucking get out from underneath the contract she had with a friend of ours, and she wanted to go with me and Jen. Yeah. She just trying to get out from underneath that.
It was a weird situation.
Pay out my contract and I'll come hang out with you guys. I'll make it worth your while. She was an escort.
Yeah. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, trans escort.
Yeah.
She was passable.
She was cool though.
She was passable.
She was cool though.
Yeah. It took me
a little bit crazy.
A little crazy. It took me a few minutes to realize that she was trans.
Yeah, it didn't occur to me until later, and then
I was
somebody said something about it, and I was like, oh, it didn't occur to me. Like I said, that kind of shit doesn't occur to me because it's just like it's a person. I don't really care.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. So this dude, who's kind of a hero, and he worked there, and he got like 70 people out, like while the shooting was going on. But yeah, otherwise, it's kind of horrifying, like listening to people that survived it, like talking about it, and there's video of it too, and I was like looking at like some body cam footage and shit like that. I don't watch too much of it because, like I said, I'll get upset. But there's literal puddles of blood on the floor. You know what I mean? Like people are trying to get out and they got their phone on and shit like that, and there's just puddles of blood and there's just like bodies everywhere. It's horrible. And a bunch of people went and hid in the bathrooms because they couldn't get out. And one girl that survived, she said she went in there and she's like, I don't really know what I was doing, but she's like, I broke off the sink in the bathroom and she was going to use it for like a shield. Because the dude was shooting through the bathroom doors. They were trying to be quiet because they didn't want him to know that they were in there.
But bunch of adrenaline, and she was just trying to come up with anything.
Yeah, she's like, I don't know how I did it, because she was a little she was a little girl, but she broke the sink off, and she was like using that as like a fucking, because she was like hiding behind it like that. Now, because he did shoot into the bathrooms and he did kill some people like that.
That's a good idea, because
shooting through the doors.
It's porcelain, probably.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, that was good thinking, probably. I don't know if it would have saved you. I mean, it did.
Well,
she was alright.
A lot of
she
body
lived,
armor
but,
is ceramic. That's close to porcelain.
She lived, but
it's hard. It can shatter a bullet.
Yeah. But yeah, so people were in both bathrooms, in the men's room and the ladies' room, and he was shooting into both of those. And so yeah, I think he shot at least 2 people in the bathrooms because he was shooting through the doors. They had at least 16 bullet holes in the doors, so he knew people were in there, and he was just like shooting. And I think he even went in the bathroom at some point too. Yeah, like he did go into one of the bathroom, and then he went into one of the bathrooms and started opening fire too. Killed a couple people and wounded a bunch of people too. So yeah, and then they said the people that survived that were in the bathroom, he came in and he was shooting with the rifle, and then it jammed, and then so he switched to the pistol and started shooting.
So side quest.
And they said the weird thing about it was that he was asking. They said, I think they said before he came into the bathroom, he was asking what race everyone was. And he said, is there any black people in there? Or something like that. And there was like, yeah, there was a couple black people in there. And he's like, I don't have a problem with black people. And they're like, okay. Like, what the fuck? Most of the people were Latino, not all of them.
Yeah.
But it was, Latin night, so it was like a largely Latino crowd. But, yeah, he was asking about what everyone's race was. And I was like, all right, what the fuck ever.
He may have been confused.
I don't know what this fucking... Yeah. So it's like, so people were... I mean, the cops were, like, inundated because everybody was calling, like, 911. Obviously, like, people that worked there, people that were stuck in there. People were calling the police and texting, like, calling 911, and then they were texting their family saying it's like, he's coming for me, I'm gonna die, and all this other kind of shit. It was horrible. And so then, like, they said a few minutes after the gunfire started, whoever ran the club's Facebook page posted on Facebook, everyone get out of Pulse and keep running. That's what it said on the fucking Facebook page. That was like 5 minutes, like 5-6 minutes after it started. And then a few minutes after that, about 20 minutes past 2, Omar Mateen, the shooter, he called 911. And he said, he mentioned the Boston Marathon bombers, those 2 brothers, and said they were his homeboys. And then he made a reference to this other guy, like, who was an American citizen, but he had done a suicide bombing in Syria back in 2014. So he said about that guy, like, that was his hero. And he was basically saying shit like, he swore allegiance to ISIS, and then also to, like, a couple of other, like, terrorist organizations that are all at odds with each other. So that's why they thought it was a little bit weird, because they're like, okay.
He just calling out random shit.
He's just calling out random shit, it felt like. So yeah, and he was just saying shit like, you'll feel the wrath of, the filthy West and all this other kind of crap. Yeah. And like I said, I kind of feel like he was mostly doing that. He wasn't an immigrant, he was American, he was born here. But he was just saying that kind of shit. At least according to his first wife, she said, I think he was just saying that shit, like, to scare everybody. He wasn't involved in any of that kind of crap. But, you know what I mean. So, like, not formally, anyway. But, So finally, like, the security guards and Omar Mateen are, like, shooting at each other. And then finally, after, it had been probably, like, 20, 30 minutes. Because, like I said, the cops were kind of outside because they were afraid that something was going on. So there were 6 officers, and they had, a couple of them had assault rifles. And they shot out a big window. And then they went inside, and then they went to where the bathrooms were, and then Omar was around the bathrooms at that time, like he was in the bathroom, and he kind of stuck his head out, so they started shooting at him, but I guess they missed.
Okay, hold on, let me say something.
What's that?
To foreign people here in the United States, American police in most states will carry a sidearm, which is a pistol, semi-auto pistol. Now they're carrying 9 millimeters. Used to be 40. But they all also, in those patrol cars, they all have AR-15s in there. Tricked out AR-15s. It's usually the AR personally owned by the law enforcement officer himself. He buys his own, and he can carry it as a patrol rifle. Sometimes it's actually in the cabin. Sometimes it's in the trunk. Depends on whatever the policies are of that police department. So our dudes here, man, they're not undergunned. They're fucking they're well armed. So it's because we have rifles. Civilians have rifles. So they to keep up with the fucking arms race. You know what I mean? They got the same shit everybody else has, which is assault rifles.
Okay. Like I said, you got to tell me like when you're done.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Because I'm not sure.
No, I'm just saying, fucking just letting people in other countries know what it is our cops have.
Yeah, I mean,
They're
I
fucking
feel like,
well armed.
Well, yeah, but the officers that went in, they were afraid. I guess they told them not to go in because they didn't have tactical gear on, but they called in SWAT.
Yeah.
So SWAT teams went in after like 20 minutes or something like that, and kind of took over.
Heavy body armor.
Yeah, they took over the shit.
Yeah.
Um,
They wear body armor, but usually it's mostly against pistol rounds. If a guy's got a rifle, they're going to want heavier fucking body armor. SWAT would have that.
Yeah.
Although some of the officers, they can carry their own armor. Some guys might have that in the trunk too, as a backup. But like I said, that's not supplied by the department. Usually they have to buy it. Just depends on how serious that cop is, and it also depends on the department. But they're well armed.
So at 2:45 in the morning, which was about 43-ish minutes like after the shooting started, Omar Mateen calls News 13, the local Orlando news station, and basically said, "I'm the shooter, it's me." So he was fucking proud of it, taking responsibility. He said, "This is on behalf of ISIS, or ISIL as they call it now," and started saying something in Arabic. I'm not sure entirely what he said. He also said that the shooting was triggered by a bombing strike in Iraq that killed an ISIL military commander.
Probably bullshit.
On May 6th. Yeah, I kind of feel like most of that shit was bullshit. Now, they did bring a crisis negotiator on because, like I said, he was in there. He had stopped shooting, but there was still a bunch of people trapped in there, and they weren't really sure how many people were dead. So, because they couldn't get in. So it was just kind of like, and for a while, they thought that he had a bomb. So they were kind of, again, afraid to go in. So the hostage negotiators actually, like, called him and, like, talked to him a bunch of times, like, between about 2:45 and 3:30. And at that time, he did say that he had bombs strapped onto him, which was not true, but they didn't really have any way of knowing that. And then a little bit before 4 a.m., basically the cops finally came out and said, "Hey, there's been a shooting at the club, multiple injuries," but like I said, they didn't know how many fatalities there were at that point. And then a little bit after that, like, they actually, 8 of the hostages that he'd been keeping, like, got out because some of the cops, there was an air conditioning unit, like, in one of the exterior walls, and they pulled it out, and there were some people, like, trapped behind there, so they got those people out, so that was 8 people. Now, at about 4:30 in the morning, Mateen actually told the negotiators that he had a bunch of bombs, and he was going to strap them to 4 of the hostages and then put them in the 4 corners of the building and blow them up in 15 minutes. At this point, the cops were like, "All right, we're done talking to this motherfucker, and we're just going to bust our way in there and get him." Interestingly, so Mateen was married at this time and had a kid. This was his second wife, actually. And they actually asked her, she had sent a text to him asking where he was. You know what I mean? Or like the mom called her and said, "Where is he at?" or something like that. She's like, "I don't know." And then she got a text from, like, Mateen saying, "Well, have you seen the news?" And she said no. And then all he texted back was, "I love you." And then she texted him back, like, "I love you too." And then she called him a bunch of times, like, while the shit was going on, but he didn't pick up. I guess she didn't know what was going on. She didn't find out what was going on until, like, 4 o'clock in the morning. And that was when the cops showed up at her house and told her to come out with her hands up because they thought she might have known about this ahead of time, which she might have. I'm not entirely sure how much of it she knew, though. Yeah, so a couple of the survivors said that Mateen said multiple times that he was doing this because he wanted the U.S. to stop bombing his country, stop bombing Syria and Iraq. I'm just like, yeah, I'm not really sure why shooting up a nightclub is gonna do anything about that, but all right. So there's that.
It's usually not well thought out.
No, obviously.
I don't think that was the motive.
I don't think it was either, honestly. I think he was just trying to scare everybody.
He jumped onto that bandwagon.
Yeah, exactly. So at a little past 5 in the morning, the cops actually burst their way through the wall, like they blew it up. And actually, there's footage of because the news were all on the thing, and you can see there's like an explosion sound in the background, and they don't know, the news crew don't know what it is because they're like a block away or something like that, and they're like, oh, there was just an explosion, so they thought like the dude blew something up or something like that, but that was actually the cops like busting their way in. And basically, right before that happened, actually Omar Mateen had gone into the ladies' room, and opened fire, and actually he killed a dude. There was a dude in there there was a woman in there, and he jumped in front of her, and the dude shot him and killed him. Huh. But she got out. But, but that guy got killed, but he jumped in front of her to save her. So, yeah, so they didn't... This is so funny. It's not funny, it's just in a fucked up, dark kind of way. So they blow this first hole in the wall, and it wasn't big enough. So they had to fucking do it again, you know what I mean? And so then they finally get in, with using like one of those Bearcat like armored vehicles, because the bomb didn't make a big enough hole for everybody, so they had to they just like drive into the fucking wall and like go in there that way. And then they used I guess they had a couple flashbangs, and they did that like to distract the dude, like, and then they kind of went in there and started opening fire at him. So then when they finally got in, it was about 5:15 in the morning. And then, they started shooting at him, and he started shooting back at them. And the cops ended up shooting him 8 times and killed him. So he was reported as dead at 5:17 a.m. So there was that. And then at 5:58, they posted on Twitter, the Pulse shooter is dead, we got him. So it took a while. Now, 30 hostages that he'd been keeping inside the club were freed during the cops being in there, but they didn't find any other explosives or anything like that, like he said. So at the end of the day, at first, when they didn't know what exactly had happened, they were saying, because they asked some people that were coming out, because some people got out like before it got really bad, and they said, how many people do you see dead in there? And like some people said, oh, it had to be like at least 20 people. Yeah, it was 49 people was how many it was. And it's scary because you can see there's video of the press, what do you call it? The press thing that they do.
Press release?
That was the first thing I thought, but it's the thing you do for the news, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so they came out like for the TV cameras, and they said, we hate to tell you this, but it's not 20 people, it's 49 people are dead. And 53 people were horribly wounded. And like I said, you can see in a lot of the footage, like people carrying their friends out, and they're all covered with blood and shit like that. And some of them had to be hospitalized for up to 3 months. You know what I mean? Like some of them it was minor, but some of them it was like pretty bad. They do say 50 deaths, but the 50 includes Omar Mateen, and he doesn't count because fuck him. So it was actually 49 people. Like I said, he doesn't count. Obviously, everyone died from gunshots. More than a third of them, the victims, were shot in the head, and most of them had multiple bullet wounds and were shot from more than 3 feet away. So he basically came in. He shot more than 200. He shot more than that, but that was how many bullet wounds there were, like 200 bullet wounds, So he shot some people like multiple times.
Must have had 7 mags.
I have no idea. I guess it doesn't really matter one way or the other, does it? He had enough to do that much fucking damage.
That's what a standard. He must have had carrying equipment to carry his ammo.
And like I said,
standard would be 6 mags, and then one in the rifle itself. That's 330 times 7 is what, 360 rounds, I think.
30 times 7.
Yeah.
No, that would be 30 times 7 would be 210.
210. Okay.
Yeah.
210. So he had more than that then.
Yeah.
Right. How many bullet holes did he make?
200.
Yeah. Okay. So he had more than 6 mags. So he had a lot of ammo.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't in there loading mags. He had magazines preloaded somehow.
Yeah, maybe so.
And you had a way to carry him around. Right.
I mean, he just fucking walked in there and started doing that shit. No preamble.
Yeah.
So, what is this fucking dude's deal? Let's find out. So, like I said, he was an American. He was actually born in New York. His parents were from Afghanistan and were Muslims, but, you know, were moderate. They didn't really seem to have any involvement in anything. As I said, in 2013 and 2014, he was put on the infamous terrorist watch list, but that was because he, at his job, he told his coworkers, okay, he said that his coworkers were making racist statements against him, so he kept saying, I'm a mujahideen, or I'm an Islamic soldier, or whatever.
Yeah.
And when they investigated him later, he said, oh, I just said that because they said racist shit against me, so I was trying to scare the crap out of them. So it's like, but they did investigate him, and also he kind of knew one of the dudes, like a dude that did like a suicide bombing later on. So he was on the list for a while, but he was later taken off it because they didn't find anything, you know, that he was formally involved in anything like that. So yeah, so he was born in New Hyde Park, New York. Like I said, his parents were from Afghanistan. They had come to the U.S. in the 1980s. And he grew up in New York for a little while, but then they moved to Port St. Lucie, which is in South Florida, in 1991. Now, this is one thing I didn't know about him. They said even from childhood, he was kind of a shithead. They said that even when he was in elementary school and middle school, he was like very violent, very aggressive, rude, verbally abusive, and just talked about sex and violence a lot, like even when he was a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense though.
Like he had like a lot of behavioral problems.
Yeah.
So much so that when he was
I'll get more into it later, but he's an Afghan. That's a key right there. How they're raised. What happens to the little boys in Afghan culture. And I don't know if he's a Pashtun, but probably.
Yes.
He's a Pashtun?
Yes.
Yeah, there's nothing acceptable about Pashtuns. I mean,
they're at least his dad is. They said his dad is. That's
they just don't belong in the Western world. They get involved at an early age of something called bachabazi, which means boy play, and they all basically rape little boys. So, way you're talking about the way he's acting, he sounds like somebody tampered with him. That's what happened there.
Maybe so. Like I said, even though he didn't grow up over there, but he might have grown up.
Yeah, but he's in the community of
the community, yeah.
Yeah.
And so something like that might happen.
Yeah. Then it becomes a fucking thing of dominance and power. And when they get old enough when they grow older, then there's all these religious conflicts. You know what I mean? Am I a hoe or am I a man, or how bad was the sin that I did, and fucking, you know what I mean? And maybe he's slightly into it, so he goes to the gay bar a lot. You know, that's what happened probably.
Yeah, maybe so. Like I said, it seems like he had a lot of behavioral problems from like a very early age. So much so that in the 7th grade, they actually moved him into a different class because he was so disruptive, and he kept like starting fights like with other students. And he was not that good of a student either. He didn't really seem to give much of a shit about school. In
the chat, there's a girl in there under the name SideQuest Hero. She's ex-military. She's also Army. She served in Afghanistan for quite a while. She can tell you all kinds of stuff about Afghans. They're very tribal, and it's not more than one group, it's several groups. But the main ones that fucking, by Western standards, that would just be the fucking weird ones would be the Pashtuns, man. And like I said, there's nothing about their culture that would be considered acceptable in the West. Their attitudes about women, their attitudes about children. Now, it's not just, this is not really an Islamic thing, you know what I mean? Fucking, I got friends in Saudi Arabia that fucking just talk bad about them, like, you know, just like, that's not Islam, what they're doing, you know? Fucking, it's just more like some kind of ancient tribal behavior that they do. They just happen to have Islam kind of placed over it. So I mean, shit like that, bachabazi boy play, pedestry is what they would call it back in the olden days in the fucking dictionary. That goes way back to ancient Greece. A lot of the ancient Greeks were like that. And the Greeks and the Persians and the Middle Easterners, if you go back far enough in time, they all worshiped the same gods. Like the Persians worshiped Perseus. That's what they're named after. And then later they became Zoroastrian, and then Islam. So when you're talking about Pashtuns, the problem isn't really Islam. The problem with Pashtuns is a tribal fucking culture that they have. They're fucking they're very special.
Yeah, one thing that a lot of his schoolmates and some of his teachers said that Omar Mateen was bullied at school because because he wasn't white, and also I think he was kind of chubby, so they kind of picked on him for that. But they said that he was like a really bad bully as well. Like he bullied other kids. He was especially shitty toward girls, which shouldn't be any surprise, I guess. But the thing about it was that it seems like a lot of his teachers, in school administration, like tried to get his parents involved and, say it's like, hey, he's kind of a problem child. You might want to like look into that. But they said that his dad really wouldn't listen to anything that the teacher said, and were basically like just took his son's side all the time. You know what I mean? So I kind of feel like that probably didn't help, because now the kid feels like he can get away with anything. I mean, he's just a kid at this point. So I kind of feel like you let them get away with this kind of crap and it's just going to fucking escalate, obviously. So I think that's kind of what it was. And his dad didn't really seem to be a big fan of women either. And especially if like any of the teachers or the administrators that spoke to him were women, that he wouldn't take anything that they said seriously, and he would always like take his son's side like over them. So you know what I mean? But there was a lot of that kind of shit going on. Now, so he goes to high school in 2000. This is in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And when he was 14, so I guess he would have been a freshman, he actually got expelled for being in a fight in a class. And he was actually arrested and charged with battery. But the charges were dropped. I mean, he was a minor, and I don't really know what started the fight or anything like that. But this seems like something that he was doing like all throughout his childhood, just like starting fights and shit like that. And he kind of got away with it, it seems like.
SideQuest hero jumped in and he said the Pashtuns are like the rednecks of Islam. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, CB said in his culture, women are worthless. It does kind of seem like...
Yeah, they hate women. They're real misogynistic. They like little boys, though. You can't trust them around little boys.
Well, like I was saying when you were in the bathroom, I said that even when Omar was getting in trouble at school, like starting fights and shit like that, like, you know, the teachers and administrators would complain to his parents being like, hey, you know, do something about him. He's causing all these, you know, disruption. And the dad really didn't take it that seriously, especially if it came from a female
it comes from a woman,
teacher. They're like, and he would always take his son's side.
Yeah.
So like I said, that's kind of a recipe for disaster when you have a shit kid that's like acting like this, and then you just like, you know, tell them that it's okay. Like they get away with it. Like, you know, then they don't have any discipline.
In their minds, a woman is several orders of magnitude underneath men. You know, they might be underneath fucking goats.
Yeah, fuck that noise.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, when he was 14 or 15, because like I said, he did get arrested and he got expelled. So at that point, they sent him to like an alternative high school for problem children, which is called Spectrum. So they sent him there, and when he was there, he was even causing trouble again, you know, among the troublemakers at that school, like, because he would make jokes about like September 11th and, you know, shit like that, and he'd say, oh, you know, my uncle knows Osama bin Laden and he taught me how to shoot AK-47s and all this other kind of shit. So he was trying to like upset everybody, basically.
Well, it sounds like he's trying to overcompensate. It sounds like he's got a fucking deflated. He's got a fucking. He's trying to compensate for his fucking shortcomings by.
Big time.
I'm a big fucking.
Big time.
I'm a big terrorist.
Yeah, because it seemed like, and this was when he was 15.
So what kind of insecurities is he covering up? He's trying to prove, oh, I'm a man. I'm a man.
I kind of feel like that's where.
That's like when these motherfuckers want, I'm a man. I'm a man. I'm a man. I'm a fucking man. Remember that fucking song that they had? You know, it was like that. Fucking, he starts to become very suspicious. You must not be much of a man if you have to keep repeating it to yourself.
Yeah, it's like,
everybody
why do you
else.
keep telling everybody, bro?
What do you?
It should just be obvious,
protest
but no.
too much.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, man, it's that Pashtun Bachabazi behavior. He got tampered with. And evidently they're real mean about it. U.S. Special Forces would see some of the warlords they worked for just doing horrible shit. And the boys little kids, 6, 7, or younger, you know, fucking being held captive, basically, and just fucking treated like shit. And just fucking real, you know, dudes just running through them, you know. They'd hear him in there crying and stuff, you know what I mean? The fucking SF guys want to go in there and kill him. And I was like, well, I would have killed the dude. I don't know. But, you know what I mean? They're all disciplined about it. I'm just not that tolerant. No. You got to go. That's why they can't have guys like me in the service anymore. We're not obedient. We did whatever we wanted. If some commander told me to tolerate that shit, I'd kill that commander. I'd frag his ass. Yeah.
SideQuest Hero said, I always loved the story about the captain whose commander was offered like 3 goats and a camel, like to marry her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, man, is that all I'm worth? Damn. CB said he probably was masturbating to his mom as well as hiding the fact that he was gay. I mean, that wouldn't shock me, to be honest. He seemed like...
Really... How did the mom get involved in this?
I don't know.
Okay, he just threw that out there?
Yeah.
I don't
really hear much about his mom. It's mostly like his dad, because now his dad was apparently... you know, he didn't really have anything super sideways, but he was like real strict on him, which I guess like that's kind of the thing. You have to be like manly man.
Yeah.
And the weird thing about it is that even though he seemed to like let the kid get away with all this bullshit, a few people did say that one time when he got in trouble, like his dad showed up at school and like slapped his face like in front of everybody. Yeah. Like and humiliated him. Yeah. So it was that. But I don't know. And like I said, later on I'll say some shit that his first wife said.
Yeah.
But too, like
I guarantee you, he wasn't interested in his mom because he probably didn't have a big interest in women. He probably just faked being interested in women.
I don't know.
That's just my take on it.
Yeah.
I think they kind of when they get a hold of them early on, I think it just kind of changes them. They don't have any respect for women. They think women are garbage.
Yeah, well.
It's male supremacy.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking special, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, so he later got sent to another high school because, like I said, he got expelled from the first one, and then he got expelled from the special school for troubled kids. So that's, you know, you're pretty fucked up.
Yeah, in other words, he belonged in prison.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, because, yeah, he didn't really seem to be getting any better or learning anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of the administrators were, like, trying to help him, and they're just like, look, this is not... And the parents weren't helping it, or his dad wasn't helping, because it's like you're just kind of taking his side, and he's being a shithead. You know what I mean? It's like, can you kind of fix that? And they weren't really doing anything about it.
Another thing about Pashtuns is that they're not known for having real high IQs. So that could be another factor too. He's probably dumb as rock.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know, but probably. So so he went to this other high school, and also got suspended from there for fighting. So there was that. So he was just fucking incorrigible. And then I kind of feel like this happens a lot, and it's like ridiculous in hindsight. It's like, here's this kid who has been getting in trouble since the fucking 3rd grade, it seems like, just beating people up and just being generally a little asshole. And then they end up in the criminal justice program. Why? Why does this always happen? But that's where he ended up. He wanted to be in the criminal justice program. Why does that not surprise me? I don't know. So he actually went to like a state college, community college kind of thing. Went to their criminal justice training program. Now, before you go into the training program, I guess there's a questionnaire that they give you, and it asks, I don't know why anybody would answer this question truthfully, or why they even bother putting it on there, but there's apparently a question that says, have you ever been involved in a crime that went undetected? Like I said, why would anybody answer that question truthfully if they indeed had? But he did. He said yes. And they let him in anyway. Which, I don't know. I don't understand how that fucking works. So he actually did get, I don't know how long this, I would assume since it's a community college, it's probably 2 years. It's probably a 2-year certificate, I would imagine. But he got an AS degree, an Associate of Science degree in criminal justice in 2006. And he worked like regular jobs, like he worked at stores and restaurants and shit like that, like while he was in college. And he did finish the certificate, which, like I said, I don't know, but it's probably like 2 years. That's usually what those are. Now, when he got out of school, he actually started working for the Florida Department of Corrections.
As a prison guard?
Yeah. But, well, we'll see how that goes. Now, they did find out about his juvenile record, like when he went through his application. And he kind of explained it. And, you know, he said, yeah, I got in fights. And because he did get arrested when he was 14, like for a fight, but the charges were dropped. And he said he smoked marijuana too. But, you know, they said, okay, well, that apparently wasn't a deal breaker. So, okay. Now, so he's doing this. And then, like, less than a year later, it was April 2007, after the Virginia Tech shooting, when that happened, he's in the training class, the corrections officer training class, and he says, oh, well, maybe I'll also bring a gun to class after the Virginia Tech shooting. And so the guy that was teaching the class is
Virginia Tech. That was the Korean kid, right?
I think it was.
Yeah.
We haven't done a show about that yet.
No, we got to do a show on that guy yet.
Well, yeah, it's in the list. Yeah. It's been in the poll a couple times.
Chol or it's Chol.
I can't remember what his name was, but yeah.
Yeah, it made an awesome video. Okay, good.
It wasn't awesome.
Yeah.
I
mean, it was fucking cringy, but it was it's awesome cringy-ass video.
But yeah. So the guy that was like a warden at the thing, he's just like, yeah, maybe like we shouldn't trust this guy to do, because like all this, he's making jokes about this kind of shit after this mass shooting or whatever. And he's like, it's a little disturbing. So he got kicked out. So he got kicked out of the training program, and he never finished like the corrections officer training. So then he went and got a job as a security guard in Jupiter, Florida. And that's, I believe, where he was working like when he did the Pulse shooting and got killed. Now, they actually did, the company that he worked for, it was a security firm, and they pretty much sourced their talent out to like different places, you know what I mean? So you could work anywhere. It was just like a security guard warehouse, I guess, and it's just like, hey, we need a dude over here like letting people in this gated community, or we need people over here guarding this warehouse or whatever. So it was just kind of that kind of thing. Now, they did 2 screenings of him. One when they hired him, and then like a later one, and they didn't find anything alarming, evidently. But when he first worked at this courthouse, and when he worked at the courthouse, he made threats towards several coworkers. And one of the threats that he made, I'm not sure of the content of the other ones, but there was one threat that he said that I guess he was having an argument with this other deputy that worked there, and he said, I'm going to have Al-Qaeda kill your whole family. So there was that. Now, you'd think that he would have got fired, but no. They did fire him. They did take him off of that position because a bunch of coworkers were complaining about him. But they said, well, we're not going to fire you, but we're just going to put you in a place where you're like by yourself. You know what I mean? So, he would make like racist comments and shit like that too. So that's also special. So they moved him to like a gated community. You know what I mean? Like if you have a gated community and there's a little booth there and the security guard is in there. So they moved him to that. So he'd be by himself and didn't have any coworkers. And the shitty thing was that when they moved him there, they didn't tell anybody that worked at this gated community, like why he was being moved to this spot. Like, because he was threatening like to kill people with Al-Qaeda, like at his other workplace. You know what I mean? I swear to God, man. So, now the thing about it too is that, and this is also crazy to me, despite what an obvious field of red flags this dude is, he had a legal concealed carry permit. and could legally purchase firearms. He also had an armed security guard license. And to do that, like, you know, to get that, you usually have to take, like, psychological profiling and all this other kind of stuff, and he passed all that shit. So, evidently, he was pretty good at, like, pretending to be normal. I'm not really sure. Because, like, honestly, the guns that he bought, that he did the pulse shooting with, he bought them legally, like, only a little while before the shooting. So, yeah. But he was cleared in all the psychological shit that he went through. And he got all of the fucking concealed carry permits and everything. Although later, I think, at least a couple of them, they try to say it was a clerical error, but I'm not really sure about that. So, yeah. Now, in April of 2009, Omar Mateen married his first wife. I can't remember what her name is, but they interviewed her at length, like, on this documentary that they did. Now, the documentary came out only 2 weeks after the shooting. So they were talking to, like, relatives of the victims and some of the survivors and stuff like that. So it was, like, pretty upsetting. But they were also talking to her. Now, I should note that she was not married to him for that long, and she was not married to him at the time that the Pulse shooting occurred. Like, she married him in 2009. And she was saying at first that that he just seemed, like, really sweet and, like, really normal. She did point out that when she introduced him to her family, her dad said, "I don't like him. There's something, like, off about him." But she didn't believe it. And they got married pretty much against her parents' wishes, because her dad did not like him at all. Thought there was something wrong with him. But she didn't want to hear it. And she admitted that later. She's like, you know, I was younger, I was in love, and blah, blah, blah. He seemed really nice, and all this other kind of shit. And, like, you know, I thought my dad was just being weird. Like, the same, like, I don't like him, you know what I mean? But I guess dad was right at that, you know, about that at least. She also said, interestingly, they met through MySpace, I think. Like, remember MySpace? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They met on MySpace.
That's a dead ball now.
Well, yeah, they met MySpace.
I don't even think it's up anymore, is it?
I have no idea.
I don't think you can browse it anymore. It's so old.
Probably not. But yeah. So they interviewed her and they asked her, because remember I mentioned earlier, they said, well, do you think he was involved with ISIS? And she said, no, I just think he said that because, like, it would upset everybody. And then they asked, do you think he was gay? And she said, I don't know. She's like, but he could have been. Yeah. And she said, I was over at his parents' house one time, and she's like, and I heard his dad call him gay.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that I think later on, because I think after this happened, particularly because it was Pulse and it was a gay nightclub, and there was, you know, stories afterward where some people said, yeah, he not a regular there, but they'd seen him there before, and that he'd used gay dating apps. And the FBI came out later and said, well, we couldn't really find any proof of that, but there are a lot of witness statements of, like, people that knew him that said, yeah, like, he was on this gay dating app, or he asked me out, or something like that. But I'm not really sure. Like, his first wife pretty much thought, she's like, I don't know, but he could have been. Now, they did find out that he was fucking around on his second wife with other women.
Yeah.
But they don't know about the gay thing. Or at least that's what they're saying. But most of the people said, yeah, they think that he probably was.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He was bi.
I kind of feel like maybe.
Yeah.
But one thing is for sure, like, the first wife, she's like, it was really nice at first, but then he started getting real controlling and violent, and she didn't put up with his ass for very long. I think they were only married for like 5 months or something.
Right.
And she was like,
that's a short marriage.
She's like, nah. Not. And actually, she said that her parents, like, because she was like freaking out and he was flipping out and like beating up on her and wouldn't let her leave the house, and her parents came over and bodily pulled her out the house, and she said, he was hanging on to my arm and my dad had my other arm, and they were just like pulling me out of the apartment. So her parents like got her the fuck out of there. So I was like, she's like really happy that happened. But yeah, they weren't married very long. She said he showed his dark side like pretty quickly. He seemed really nice at first, and it was wonderful at first, but you know,
started beating on her.
Pretty soon, yeah, he was just like real physically abusive.
I think what you're dealing with is a dude that fucking kind of had a troubled past and was kind of conflicted. You know what I mean? Fucking, I think, you know, he was involved in some diddling. You know, he was diddling when he was young. Fucking, and his dad knew about it. Maybe his dad did it. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe his dad just knew about it, and might have been making fun of him over it.
Yeah, maybe so.
And but whenever he was fucking kind of hard up, he would just kind of go to the gay club. Maybe he'd think that'd be an easy way to get his fucking dick sucked or something. And then eventually, I think he got guilty and fucking went full straight out fucking religious and fucking went fucking mowed everybody down. And it might have been kind of like a suicide, a murder suicide type thing.
Yeah,
because he had to have known that there'd be no way he could leave that place alive after what he did.
Yeah.
The cops will not even accept your surrender once you've done that. They're gonna fucking gun you down. Yeah.
I don't think he was planning on coming back.
Yeah. I've just seen fucking thousands of fucking videos on police activity, of how cops do things. I understand their SOPs, worked with them, helped train them. I trained soldiers too. I was in the Army, and no, you kill 50 people, they're gonna kill you. They're not gonna arrest you. No. They're gonna say, well, he moved. I thought he was gonna hurt me. Yeah, they're gonna gun you down.
And they'll probably get away with it too.
Yeah.
99%.
Yeah, they don't want to waste money on
they'll
trial and
get
shit.
away with it.
They know who you are. They know you did it.
You know.
Yeah.
Just saying. A side quest here said something earlier, because I was saying something about the questionnaire that they asked, like to get into the criminal justice program, where they ask you that question, like, have you ever been involved in a crime that was undetected? And she said the principle is that most people have committed a crime.
Yeah.
And she said it's to see if you'll lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Although here's the thing, as far to my knowledge, I've never committed a crime. Well, no, that's not entirely true.
What do you consider a crime? Speeding? Is that a crime?
Well, yeah, speeding is a crime. Then
Punching somebody out in a
taking
bar,
LSD,
is that a crime?
Is telling LSD, taking LSD a
Yeah,
crime?
yeah.
Okay, never mind.
So I would start asking that. How do you define crime?
Never mind. I've never committed a violent crime or like a property crime or anything like that.
I have. I've committed violent crimes.
Well,
fucking fist fighting is enough. That's fucking simple battery. Hurting someone seriously is aggravated battery. It's just that
I
they
just
have
tried
to
to strangle that.
The thing is, though, is that they have to bring up charges.
Yeah.
And in the U.S., a lot of times when that shit happens, they can't bring up charges because they were committing a crime too.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, you just gotta make sure.
Like fucking me beating that dude's ass in the club, they couldn't do anything meant to me because that dude grabbed Jen's ass. That's fucking sexual assault.
It is, yeah.
So he can't go to the cops.
Yeah. Yeah, because if he had,
then she would have hit him with a sexual assault charge.
Yeah. I would have done.
So you have to know the law. So you have
to
to know who's fair game. Somebody commits a crime like that, you fair game, bitch. You can fucking work them over.
Yeah.
Because if the cops were to show up, they say you want to press charges, and fucking because if you press charges on him, they're gonna fucking press sexual assault charges on you. You go, no, I'm gonna press charges.
Yeah.
And the cops are gonna laugh and they're gonna, okay, guys, have fun. That's what's gonna happen.
Like we got more important shit to do.
They don't give a shit. Nobody got killed. They don't care. Between two dudes, man, there's fights happen all the time.
Yeah, SideQuest Hero said, yeah, but if you have to reach and say, like, well, one time I stole a candy bar or something like that, you're probably not a threat to other people. Yeah, it's like, honestly, I've like, speeding, like I said, taken LSD before. That's technically illegal. That's about it, though. Almost tried to strangle that bitch. But she started it.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Well, see, here's the weird thing. Shit like that, they could fucking accuse you of attempted murder.
Yeah.
And you weren't really trying to kill her, but they said, well, you were strangling her.
Yeah.
That's trying to kill somebody. You know, you could get in serious trouble for that.
Oh, I know.
But she couldn't press any charges. Nothing really happened, and she couldn't prove that happened.
Yeah.
There was no damage to her neck. You were, you know, you weren't throttling her. You know,
and nobody in there would have testified.
It's just girls fighting.
Everybody hated that bitch anyway. So it's just kind of everybody.
She's around. She's back.
Yeah, you told me.
Although she never showed up.
I love how she messaged you as soon as she got back.
Yeah, as soon as she got back, she messaged me. Yeah, ain't that
Stalker.
something? But she never came out. Well,
No,
of course,
she
she said she was gonna fucking follow. Remember, I'm gonna go to your house. I've been waiting outside for your
That's
house.
what I mean. Fucking stalker.
Yeah. She was stalking. That's my stalker.
Like, I don't worry about it anymore because it's been so many years, but you
Yeah.
never know, man. She might, like, fucking have a psychotic break and decide
Nah.
she's gonna... You
Nah.
might find her camped out on the lawn one morning.
Nah, she wasn't crazy. She was just weird.
Yeah, but you don't know. You don't know. She might have, like, flipped out since then.
Nah, she's all right.
I trust nobody.
That chick was fucking a trip.
I trust fucking nobody.
She was, well, you know, when you look at her, she's cute, so you'd think that there's no problem, but she's annoying.
Like I said, I trust nobody.
She's
I don't
annoying.
care what you look like. Anybody can be crazy.
She was annoying.
I don't care what they look like.
And
You
what
don't
the
have
fuck-
to look like a crazy person.
She's
to be a
back.
crazy
She's been
person.
back for years now, and we haven't seen her at any of the clubs. She doesn't come out.
I keep every now and then. It's like it'll cross my mind. It's
She never
like
comes
that
out.
she'll turn up,
Yeah,
but
she
she
hasn't
still,
turned
she
up.
hasn't.
No. Which tells me that she doesn't look the way she used to look.
Maybe she got fat.
That's what I think happened. She got fat and her German boyfriend fucking fired her. She got fired. Returned back. I think that's what happened though.
That's probably what happened. Yeah, she got super fat.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tammy said Tom laughs until she shows up with a gun. I mean, you never know. I wouldn't put it past her, to be honest.
She wasn't the type to have one. No.
Like I said, you never know. I don't trust
She didn't
nobody.
want me talking to Jen.
I don't trust nobody. Yeah, she really didn't. She
want me to-
really didn't.
She thought that she was my girlfriend, but she wasn't my girlfriend. Only
Y'all
fucking-
never even went out.
No.
Honestly.
Not really.
You went home with her one night and
She stole me.
and didn't even fuck.
No.
Because she was being...
She was mad that I wasn't into it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a weird situation. But like I said, I don't
Did
know.
not have a prophylactic. And then
I love that you used that
did
word.
not have a prophylactic. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, well, we can't do this. It's okay then. Fucking wait.
Okay.
I'll see you in the morning. She's like, what are you talking about? She's trying to wait. We got to figure this out somehow.
We got to figure
And
this
I was
out.
like, nah, I'm good.
It's
I'm
like,
good.
yeah, it's okay. I'll just sleep here and take the fuck off. in the
Yeah,
morning.
yeah. She was. Why are we talking about this bitch? Let's keep going.
I don't know. Well, because we were talking about crimes.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, so like I said, they interviewed the first wife, and some people, because they, like I said, they weren't married that long. So some people in the comments of the documentary was like, well, why are you interviewing this woman and not the woman that was actually married to him at the time? But because there was a woman married to him at the time, because he married again in 2011. I think, well, they married in 2012, I think, but they met in 2011. Now they met also on like an online dating site, and they had a kid. So I think the kid was 3 when the shooting happened, and she basically she said pretty much the same thing, that he was very, very abusive. But the thing about it is that she actually went on trial later, which I'll get into in a bit, because they thought that maybe she knew something about... They didn't think she was involved necessarily in the shooting, but that she knew about it beforehand. You know what I mean? So what would they call that? Accessory? Is that an accessory?
Yeah.
It's not accessory after the fact if you knew. It was like...
The accessory.
But I think she was maybe an accessory. So I'm not really sure. But he didn't have any other criminal record in Florida, so it's just kind of like, I don't know. The weird thing about it, and this didn't even occur to me, when the shooting happened in Orlando, he didn't live here. He lived in Port St. Lucie. That's like 100,
That's far?
That's like 100 miles
I
away.
didn't realize he lived that far away.
Yeah, that's like 100 miles. That's like South Florida. My
So
mom
he was
used to live
driving
there.
that far to cruise the gay clubs?
Maybe so. I get like...
He was trying to go where nobody knew him.
Maybe. Although, like I said, a lot of people that went to that club said they'd seen him before.
He must have been going regularly.
So I'm not real sure. I mean, I used to drive a long way to go to the castle from
Yeah.
Daytona, which is... That's
Yeah.
probably about 100 miles.
Wonder why that gay club?
I don't know. Like I said, I've never been there, so I'm not really sure. But I don't know.
Because there were other ones closer to him. Why do you go? It had to be he wanted to go where he wasn't known.
Yeah,
Had
maybe.
to have been.
But yeah. So his first wife, not the one that was married to him at the time of the attacks, she also said, I forgot to say this. Like I said, I mentioned that he beat her up and tried to keep her away from her family and stuff. She thought that he had bipolar disorder.
Well, I don't. Yeah, probably.
She said he was on a bunch of steroids too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if maybe
I don't know what he's taking. Depends on what he's taking.
could be our old friend
Could be Trent.
Trent.
Could be Trent.
Which let's not get into those.
Although,
stories again.
Like I said, I'd have to have a list. I'd have to see what his stack is. See exactly what he's taking. Most of them, they don't have any kind of impact, anything like that. All that roid rage shit, that's not really true.
Yeah.
It can be, but the only one I had problem with was Trenbolone. Fucking that fucking make you crazy as shit.
Yeah.
But it takes time. It takes month 4, you're fucked up. That's why I tell you to come off that shit. 33 months. After 3 months, you need to come off that. Month 4, I started acting fucking sideways. Month 5, I was fucking psycho.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But you didn't realize.
Didn't realize you think it's totally normal.
Yeah, which is scary.
So just like what happens to those chicks that fucking kill their kids, that postpartum depression, fucking hormones are powerful. You don't realize that you're under the influence of them.
Because it seems normal to you.
Seems totally normal. Doesn't seem like a drug.
Which is, like I said, it's scary. It's scary to try to reason with a person like that.
Yeah. And then it took me about fucking 3 weeks to get back to normal after I took the shit.
Yeah, maybe longer.
No, I was all right, I think, a couple months. It's just that you're not 100%, but you know.
Yeah, Tammy's talking about that bitch. She wasn't the type. A lot of the school shooters, people describe them as not the type. See, that's why I trust nobody, because you never know. You never know. I've seen too many...
She's talking about the chick?
Yeah. I've seen too many, like, true crime shows where everybody was like, he was totally nice and quiet. I don't understand what happened. So it's just kind of like, I trust nobody.
No, what that chick was...
I trust nobody.
Is that she was used to getting lots and lots of attention. Because when she was younger, she was probably much cuter. And when other women started to beat her out, because good looks are not enough. You got to have a full package, you know what I mean? And I liked hanging out with Jen more than her. She didn't like that. That was a huge blow to her ego. So she was ready to fight for me.
Yeah.
Which women do that. Jen fought for me several times. She fought against her.
Because she kept bugging me.
Yeah.
She kept doing
trying to get rid of her.
And it wasn't even like so much of, I mean, it kind of was about you, but it was more about like her trying to fuck with me.
She was trying to erase you from
like
the scene.
passive aggressive kind of shit.
Yeah,
and like after a while, I was just kind of like, bitch, would you
Yeah.
step off?
Yeah.
She, like I said, she would do shit like walking by. It's like, oh, oops. Like, I'm just like, oh my god, fucking knock it off. Are you 9?
Yeah. She was super femmy.
Stop it.
Super femmy, super...
I hate that shit.
Super catty.
I was like, I will pop you right in your mouth.
Right.
You know what I mean? I do not care.
She kind of become very tiresome.
She was very tiresome. She was annoying as shit, but yeah.
Kind of annoying, yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it was mostly
she wouldn't
just...
have been annoying. She would not have been annoying if she was 19. Because she was still psychologically...
I mean, she'd still be annoying, but...
Yeah, but you'd be
more...
You'd put up with her more.
Forgiving of it, I
Yeah.
guess. But when you're like... pushing 40.
When you're pushing 40, it's not the same.
It's not really cute anymore.
She was maybe pushing 40 when she was in her late 30s, I think. Maybe
yeah,
36,
she was
37.
about my age, right?
Yeah.
I thought she was. And when I met you, I was about 38, so she was probably about my age-ish.
Yeah.
I would imagine. We were about the same age.
About the same age.
But
neither one of them looked at... They both looked like kids. Jen and her. They both looked very young. Jen looked like she was in her 20s at 38.
I did. I looked very childlike.
I got pictures to prove it.
I looked very childlike still. But yeah, so after all this shit happened, so like everyone started asking about his motives and stuff, and it seemed like he had a couple of gay coworkers, and they said that he didn't have a problem with them, and that he didn't really say anything against them.
We'll get you some more.
But then his dad said something about him getting mad about seeing 2 men kissing one time. So it's like, there's really no way of knowing, like I said. And there was a lot of, like I said, some of his coworkers, too, thought that he was a nice dude. And then his other coworkers were like, no, he was a nut. Like, they thought he was mentally unstable. And, like, they said
he was definitely
they said
mentally
he would say, like, homophobic shit all the time. He would say racist shit all the time. He would say shit against women all the time. They said he was just a shitty person. And was like super violent. He would talk about killing people and I'm gonna have Al Qaeda kill you and all this other kind of crap. And some of his coworkers did complain about him.
He was trying to be something that he wasn't. He was trying to overcompensate for all these insecurities that he had.
Yeah, I mean, big time. It's just kind of like, So, like you said, some people that knew him did say that he might have been gay or bisexual. Yeah. Because he did have a male friend from in the mid 2000s. And they went to the police academy together. Yeah. And he said that Omar would go to gay clubs with him. Yeah. And that Omar actually asked him out.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. A lot of times these dudes that fucking come off as like fucking super like, fuck that dude, gay bashing type dude, that's the one you gotta watch. That dude's probably closeted.
Well, yeah, and they
Because-
obviously have some conflicts
Because it's
about
fucking
it.
with him. He sees the gay dude and he likes the gay dude, but he's trying to fucking deny that he likes the gay dude internally, and he's got this
Just
internal.
like the gay dude, there's
And
nothing
fucking,
wrong with it.
then he's gonna start hating on the dude for making him like him, shit like that. Fucking, that's what happens.
Yeah, I
But
kind
it's
of.
that type of dude.
It's kind of the
that does
same
that.
thing. It's the same kind of thing where, like, you know, the incel dudes that go and like
Yeah.
shoot up hot women.
Yeah,
like Elliot Rodger.
Yeah, they want those hot women.
Yeah, it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
oh, I hate you for making
Me do this to you.
Do this to you.
because you were being bad to me and you're making me. Yeah,
Right.
all
Even
that
though
kinda
they
shit.
don't even know he
They don't know you,
exists.
bitch.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, it's another
Yeah.
thing of like externalizing your
Yeah.
own internal problems, thinking it's everyone else
Yeah.
doing something to you
Yeah.
when no one is doing it.
I passed all the rites of passages to being a real man. I passed all of them, right? And fucking everybody I knew who was like me, none of us really gave a shit if you were gay or not. Fucking, we had gay dudes in the military, and as long as they were presented as a fucking dude and they were fucking good soldiers and you could trust them, fucking, they were just like everybody else. It was always the dudes who would fixate on that shit that make you wonder, man, you must be closeted.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think that's the case 100% of the time.
Yeah, most straight dudes don't give a shit.
But I do kind of feel like it is a thing.
Yeah.
Because why would you care so much?
Yeah. Why
Like,
is
it
that
doesn't-
bothering you so
Why
much?
does it bother you so much? It's like
Right.
it literally has
Right.
zero to do with you.
Right.
So I don't really understand.
And then they're
why people get
projecting,
so
oh,
upset
that
about
dude's
it.
looking at my ass. He's after me. No, dude. Chances are he thinks you're ugly.
Maybe
It had
that.
nothing
Yeah.
to do with
Did you ever think of that? Maybe that's why
Yeah.
he was like, look. At what
Yeah,
that
chances
dude's
are he
wearing.
thinks you
Gross.
fucking suck. Yeah.
I mean, because I've looked at some people like that before too, and it's like it'd be super funny if like the dude was thinking, "Ooh, she's checking me out," and I was thinking, "Look at this fucking pants. What are you doing?" You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I try not to look at people for that very reason because I don't want them thinking that I'm looking at them like,
Yeah.
like checking them out or something because I'm
Yeah.
totally not. If I'm looking at you that long, it's usually because there's something fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Most of the gay dudes that I've known in my life had very fucking high standards for dudes. Sometimes unrealistically high standards. Like they liked guys that they couldn't get. You know what I mean? Fucking, they're a little overweight and that kind of shit. Fucking, but it's just, but if you're just some random Joe driving a truck for a living, big old fucking beer gut and shit, those gay dudes aren't looking at you.
No, why would they?
They don't give a
Well,
fuck.
the hilarious thing is it usually seems like
Those are the
dudes-
ones that are the most upset.
Well, it usually seems like dudes that look like that are the ones that
Yeah.
actually would think that gay dudes are checking. Well, I don't have a problem with gay people as long as they don't hit on me. I'm like, why
Yeah.
the fuck would
When
they hit on you? Have you looked at yourself?
Yeah, a lot of those guys have good taste. What would they be hitting?
Exactly. That's what blows my mind about it. It's like, look,
Yeah.
nobody is hitting on you. Trust me. It's
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? It's don't worry about it. And I don't get it. It's always dudes like that. It's,
Yeah.
like with some big beer gut and fucking
Yeah.
60 years old and shit like that. That
Yeah.
says crap like that. I'm like, literally no one is looking at you, son. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, they never been to a gay club.
No.
Yeah, some of the dudes in there, man, they're fucking like male models.
Well, like I said,
You
they
know,
have
fucking. They're like fitness models. A lot of
Yeah.
them with the top ones.
Yeah, SideQuest says, why do people have such hangups about that shit? Nobody even cares anymore. Yeah,
I know.
exactly. I don't understand. And like I said, it has literally nothing
Yeah.
to do with you. Nothing. It's like, why do you care?
That if you ask me, man, that shit didn't matter around when 1990 started to roll around. For our generation, nobody gave a shit.
Yeah, I mean,
Nobody gave a shit.
it's kind of hard for me to say that because, like I
Well, it
said,
slowly kind of faded.
Yeah.
But the ones that didn't give a shit, the ones that did care about the shit, they were the assholes. They
Yeah.
weren't the popular people anyway.
and like I said, I guess because I kind of grew up in like the little goth punk subculture, and like literally since the 80s, nobody in that, or since the 70s actually, like nobody in that subculture has given
Give a
one
shit? No.
whiff of a shit about any
No.
of that. And they're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
But so I might be a little biased in that regard because I didn't really like hang out with
Well, I was in that same kind of.
normie
I was in that same crowd.
people, so I don't really know what the attitude was. It seemed like it was much shittier because you
Yeah.
could get away with a lot more back then. Like
Yeah.
as far as getting away with all kind of slurs and shit like that. They
Yeah.
wouldn't really do anything.
The ones that had the bad rep for that were the jocks.
yeah.
But when I'm looking back on it, it was really only like 25% of them. The other 75% of the jocks, they didn't give a shit either. They just
Yeah.
were trying to fit in.
Bryce Versa said some people see it as a sin. No such thing. That is a meaningless concept.
Yeah, that's people with religious hang-ups.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, this dude here saw it as a sin.
Yeah.
But he was doing it anyway. What he was doing was trying to atone for his sin.
I think he probably would have done it anyway. I think he was just using that as like a justification.
It was a bunch of stuff happening at once.
Yeah, I kind of feel like this dude,
like
he had a bunch of shit going on. You know what I mean?
But here's the deal. Let's say you're religious and it's a sin. Okay, it's a sin. What's it got to fucking do with you? All right, that's between that.
Yeah, why is it your?
Yeah, why is that your issue? Because that's you know, if you're talking about Christianity, you're not the judge. God is the judge. The Lord is.
Yeah,
so that's between him and God. It's not between you and him.
Face.
Now, Islam is a little bit different because they tell those dudes that they're the enforcers of God's will. So they're going to make you submit to their fucking laws.
That's where the trouble occurs.
That's where the trouble occurs. That's why, look, I mean, I got family members that live in Islamic countries, but they're like the good ones. You know, like Saudi Arabia is a good one now. All right, they let people do shit. Okay, they're not as strict as they used to be. Same thing with UAE and Dubai. They're not unreasonable. I forgot where I was going with this. But I've been drinking.
Yeah.
We were talking about, what was I talking about?
See, I don't even remember.
Yeah,
well, sin. We were talking about
sin.
the concept of sin. Yeah.
Those particular countries, as long as it's not in their face, they're not gonna fucking go after you. I mean, you'd have to bring that shit into their. We're living in a secular country where religion really isn't part of the law. You know, this is civil law.
Well, ideally.
Well, how do you define religion? You can say political ideology is a religion because most religions are a political ideology.
Yeah, but those are two different things. It's like, let's not confuse all the terms.
Not really. Religions have a political ideology. Other fucking political ideologies have political ideologies. They have things that they believe in. Believing in things can be dangerous. Especially if it's a belief system that was given to you, not one you developed through experience, okay? Because a lot of the fucking generic shit they give you to believe in isn't true. It's not really based in anything.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, like, the whole... I don't know, man. I just don't understand the whole fucking concept. It's none of your business. That has nothing to do with you. I mean, maybe it's because I just was never religious, and so the whole concept of religion is kind of abhorrent to me. So the whole mindset of it, like, I understand how people that were raised like that, like, think like that, but it doesn't make any logical sense to me, and so I'm not into it.
It's none of your business.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Literally none of my business.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't understand the need to go and, like, judge people for things that I don't like. Because, shit, man, I go out... Well, I don't go out every day, but I go out every few days. And, like, I see shit all the time that I don't like. You know what I mean? All the time. Am I going to go and say to that person, hey, I don't like what you're doing? No.
Yeah.
Why the fuck would I do that?
Well, in Christianity,
I don't know that person.
Christianity, they impose what they believe on you because they believe that they're saving your soul. Okay, so that's the justification.
Again, no such thing.
Islam does it because they're trying to enforce God's will. In other words, to create order. Sharia is what they're what they're talking Sharia, and it's both bullshit.
Well, like I said, to me at its root, it's just narcissism.
Yeah.
You think you're so important.
Yeah.
That God specifically told you to go out and do this, that, and the other thing. You're not important.
You're God's cop now.
You're just a little hairless ape like the rest of us. Yeah. Calm the fuck down.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't get up in other people's business. Yeah, if you see somebody, like, you know, in the moment, like, kidnapping a kid, yes, intervene. But, like, other than that, if they just have some haircut you don't like or a t-shirt you don't like or something like that, why the fuck would you say
or just people making out and you don't like it? Fuck that.
Just don't look at it.
Right. Yeah.
Mind your business.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. So yeah. So even though, like I said, the FBI said, well, we didn't really have any concrete evidence that he was doing this, that, and the other thing, like, as far as the gay clubs went. But there were at least 5 regulars at Pulse that said that they had seen him there before on multiple occasions. They said he didn't usually interact, but he usually kind of sat in the corner. But they had seen him there before. There were some other people that said that they had never seen him before, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. You know what I mean? There was also a person who said that they had interacted with him over a gay dating app. And he gave the FBI his phone, but I guess they couldn't find anything about that, so I don't know if that was bullshit or not. But I'm not really sure. I just kind of feel like there's enough there to suspect that that's probably what he was up to. Like I said, I kind of feel like it was... He probably thought that he wasn't living up to his family's, particularly his dad's, expectations of masculinity, whatever the fuck that was. And so, you know, maybe he had feelings toward other men. Maybe he was bisexual, maybe something like that. And the fact that that was being... that was in the back of his mind, and he didn't like that because he kind of felt like he was being...
He was a Pashtun, so that's in his background of that.
That's what I mean. So
yeah.
I kind of feel like maybe that was like... So as we were saying, I don't remember what context we brought this up, but we were talking about this on another show, where I kind of feel like a lot of this kind of shit, at its root, is really self-hatred.
Yeah.
Is what it is. Like, and I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying that's what the the root of a lot of this is. It's like, it's
that's
not so much...
Sense.
It's not so much that they hate... Well, they do hate other people, but they hate other people because they hate themselves.
Yeah.
And...
Which is I talked about that before in other shows.
Yeah.
That's actually, like, if you get into Star Wars and it was coming from Eastern philosophies, hatred of the self is a very powerful, destructive force. All right? It will kill you and it will kill other people.
Yeah.
If you're going to try to become a Sith Lord, that might be something that you might want, because your purpose in life is to kill and to fucking try to maintain fucking total control over your environment, become powerful. Not in a good way, but in a bad way. So, yeah, self-hatred is the fuel, the conflict.
And I think the thing, too, is when you come from a culture that's very, very masculine-centered and is very narrow in that regard, I think that doesn't help either. Yeah. And generally, this is not true of everyone, obviously, but generally, when men have problems, they tend to blame others. They tend to go external. That person, my boss sucks, that's why he fired me. My wife is a slut, that's why she left me. It's always somebody else's fault.
I'm gonna mitigate this.
Like, I didn't say everybody. I just said that's pretty common.
The men that blow up tend to be dudes that are doing that.
That's exactly.
Okay.
They're externalizing. Yeah. They think everything else is done to them. Someone's doing something to them.
Most men can see through the maze and go, nah, I'm just blaming other people because I fucked up. It just depends on how smart you are.
Like I said, it's like most women are like the opposite. Like when something bad happens, we blame ourselves, even if there's no way it could be our fault. Yeah. Like we internalize everything. Like, oh, well, I must have fucked up somehow. Yeah. Like I said, even though there's
it's hormones, it's progesterone.
But like I
was like that when I was on
a lot of so you understand. Yeah. But women are like that all the time.
Yeah.
Not everybody, obviously, but that's generally true. But it's generally true also that dudes tend to blame others when bad shit happens.
It's very testosterone thinking.
Yeah.
Very
like
fucking
I said,
black and white.
It's not because, like, if you get fired from your job, it's not because you fucked up or you didn't do a good job. It's because the boss hates you for some reason, or the boss is an idiot or something like that. It's always something not to do with you. Yeah. You're always like the victim. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I kind of feel like that mindset is very common in this kind of dude. Yeah. And I kind of feel like maybe that had something to do with it too, because like I said, maybe he was kind of closeted, maybe he was kind of into gay dudes and stuff like that, and he didn't like that about himself, so he decided he was just going to, like,
that's what I think it was.
So,
he was conflicted and self-loathing.
Yeah.
He was a self-hating gay. Zach, what do you think of that, man? He was a self-hating gay.
I mean,
he may have been more gay than straight, so maybe that's, because I think that he couldn't rationalize it, so he fucking went on this fucking murder spree.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how
he went through. He had 2 marriages. He fucked up the first one. He was abusive to these women.
Yeah, well, he was
background
that
he had. The background that he had, you know what I mean? Fucking kind of an Afghan, fucking Pashtun, fucking influence in his background. Who knows what happened in early childhood? If he was tampered with, and maybe liked it. You know what I mean? That kind of shit. So he was like, He's trying to expunge what he really is. He's really gay. He didn't like that. So
like
he's
I
going to
said,
take it out on gay dudes.
And he also comes across as just like a very angry...
Yeah.
Like, even from an early age, he just seemed like a very angry...
Well, he's angry because he can't face what he is.
Yeah.
Or who he is, you know.
Which, like I said, like, in this day and age, like, fucking chill
but that
out.
culture is not like that.
I know, but the thing about it is that, you know, he was born here. I mean, you could have just told your family, fuck off, and it's just, like, gone and been happy someplace.
Family and community and
I'm a big...
Here's another thing, though. Western people have this fucking kind of predilection to believe that foreigners or immigrants that come here are not ethnocentric. Many of them are ethnocentric. Just because they're here doesn't mean that they're American. His mentality probably very Afghan. Because his influence of his dad and just his mom and probably the community he comes from. And they're ethnocentric. You know. They look down on Western culture. That's for whores, that kind of shit. Those sluts. They don't know God. That's the mentality.
Nope, they're right. I don't know the man.
Yeah.
If I did meet him, I'd probably punch him in the dick. Because what an asshole.
They're like, they don't know God. My people know God. He gave us a book.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're special.
I'll give you a book. Will you follow me?
Yeah, we're special. We're in the land of the non-believers.
It might be like a Dr. Seuss book or something. But,
My book says I can do whatever I want to these people because they don't believe in my God.
I need to write a fucking Bible.
Yeah.
I need to start a cult or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't do it now because I've told everybody, but...
Yeah.
I wouldn't... I couldn't do that. I'm not deceptive enough, but I've thought about it. I was like, that's where the money is. L. Ron Hubbard was right about that.
My recommendation is, if you're a fundamentalist, is to watch the movie Heretic. You'll fucking learn a lot from that.
I mean, the nice thing about that is just kind of like, maybe some people were hearing that shit for the first time, but it's like, I mean, we knew all of that stuff. We knew all about that. But like, so I was like, wow, somebody's actually like talking about this like in a big...
That's right. Christian mythicism.
Yeah, like that was kind of the first time I'd heard that discussed like in a big movie like that, and I was like, I thought that was kind of neat.
I'm culturally Christian, but I'm a Christian mythicist. I don't believe it's real. It's mythology. That doesn't mean I don't like it. I do kind of like it. I can kind of use that imagery internally to fucking get through things and to see things in certain ways. But mostly it's like an artistic way. I'm not a fundamentalist, Fucking... I'm not even really consider myself religious. I'm more just spiritual,
I'm more on the anti-religion end of the spectrum.
I'm spiritual, yeah.
I have to say.
I like religious mythologies.
I'm interested in it for that reason.
Yeah.
Like the same reason that I'm interested in all mythology.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Greek stuff. Greek.
But like I said, when people start believing it's real, that's when the trouble starts.
Mayan mythology and Mexican mythology from the Aztecs and shit like that. It's wild shit, man.
Yeah.
And it's not stupid. It's carefully thought out.
That's why it's interesting.
Didn't know certain things.
Like I said, but I like it as stories. Mm-hmm. As soon as people start believing it's real,
they're stories.
Then I'm out. That's
stories to explain.
That's no way to live.
Yeah. No.
So what you were saying before, how this dude like knew that he wasn't coming back from this, I found this little tidbit that said 2 months before he shot up Pulse, he actually transferred his house. I don't know if he owned the entire house or just like half of it or whatever, to his sister and brother-in-law for $10. So he sold his house essentially for $10 to his sister. So I'm assuming that he knew that he wasn't coming back. So that's how far back he was like planning this kind of shit. Now, like I said, the guns that he did the shit with, they were legally purchased 2 weeks before the shooting. They said he also attempted to purchase body armor, but they got a little suspicious and they wouldn't sell him any. He tried it in another shop and they also were sus and they wouldn't give him any.
He gave off the wrong vibes.
Yeah. They sold him the guns, but they were like, body armor, woo, that's like a step too far, I guess. But yeah, so there was that. Yeah, so the thing about it, too, is that another thing that I heard, like I said, and I don't know, because everything about this case is just so fucking contradictory, like everything. They basically said that his wife said that he asked her to drive him to a couple of clubs in Orlando. And I think Pulse, I don't think the other one that he drove by was a gay club. And they were saying that they thought he had only picked Pulse not because it was specifically a gay club, but because it didn't have as much security as the other ones. I don't know if that's true or not. Because it did seem like he went to Disney Springs, and I think he scoped out a couple nightclubs there, which I don't even remember what nightclubs were there. I don't remember what's there now. And I don't for sure don't remember what was there in 2016 because I've never been to nightclubs there. There are a couple, but they're not gay clubs. They're just regular, fucking just everybody. It's Disney Springs, you know what I mean? There's like 40 bajillion tourists. So it's just kind of like regular ass shit. But they thought that he just targeted that because it was because the security was lax. But I don't know. Like, his wife did actually drive him to scope out the place. I don't know if he told her what he was planning on doing. But, So the thing about it, because she actually did get arrested later. Like, she got arrested it was probably like 6 months later. She got arrested in January 2017. Because they thought that when they asked her about what she knew about the shooting beforehand, they thought she was maybe lying. So she got charged with aiding and abetting and obstruction of justice. And so she pleaded not guilty. And then she went to trial in 2018. And she said that Omar Mateen had Googled downtown Orlando nightclubs and had gone to Disney Springs, like I said, and he'd also gone to Pulse, and he'd gone to one called the Eve, which I don't know where that is. I never heard of that place. But then chose Pulse, she said, because the security was more lax than at the other place. And maybe not specifically because it was a gay club, but I don't know if I believe that. So I'm not really sure. And I don't actually know if she did any prison time, to be honest.
Was she convicted?
I don't know. Because I was looking up and shit and I couldn't really
Didn't
find
say,
anything. But like I said, she went on trial in 2018 for aiding and abetting, but I don't know what the outcome of that was. So a few months after the shooting, the city of Orlando bought the nightclub for $2.25 million. And then the mayor of Orlando, whose name is Buddy Dyer, in case you did not know, expressed his intention to turn it into a memorial. But basically, the owners didn't want to sell it to him at first. They were actually going to do it themselves. But I guess in the end, they ended up selling it to the city or whatever. But so the last I heard about that was maybe like a few months ago. And apparently they're still raising money. I believe the building is still there. But they are still planning on making it into a memorial. But I guess they're trying to raise a certain amount of money or whatever. But, to honor the victims. But the building is still there. The sign is still there. Everything's still there. And it's pretty fucked up. It's the outside of it is now a big mural. With pictures of all the victims and stuff. So it's pretty upsetting. Like I said, I was just kind of I had forgotten how upset this made me when it happened. And then when I was researching it and watching documentaries about it yesterday and stuff, it's just brought everything back again. You know what I mean? Watching all the people that got out and they were talking about the people, their friends and stuff that got killed, and it was horrible. Because they were just talking about it was just fucking chaos in there, man. And then seeing the fucking footage of all the puddles of blood on the floor and shit like that. It's there's worse ones, because there's a whole thing of body cam footage of the cops when they first went in there, and it's I don't want to watch that. I saw some of it, but I was I
haven't seen it.
I don't think I can sit through that.
I saw samples just through the news, but I didn't really.
Yeah, that's what I just saw bit of it, and I was that was bad enough.
It all looks about the same.
Once you see it,
it all looks about the same.
I think the more upsetting things to me were the one of the girl that had posted a video to her Snapchat, it was just her, and it was her girlfriend, and then a couple of their friends, and they were all hanging out together, and it was just her, and she posted it on Snapchat, and you could hear the gunshots in the background, but she didn't know what it was.
Right, yeah.
And that was the last thing she posted, and she got killed.
Yeah.
They found out later. And it's just kind of ugh, it's just awful. It's awful fucking seeing
just
that.
a cowardly attack on a bunch of people partying.
That's what I mean. And like I said, we went out
Yeah.
the weekend after that, and I was just
Yeah.
kind of like, and you know, there was still people still came out, but it was like, you know, it's depleted.
He's punishing them for being sinners.
I'm like, bro, just chill. Like I said, just chill the fuck out, man. It's like, just go out and have a good time.
Yeah.
I don't understand like why.
I'm God's avenging angels. Y'all are being bad. He sent me here to straighten y'all out.
Fucking
You deserve
terrible.
this. That kind of mentality is just fucking
Like,
that's
who
so
the
fucked up.
It's like, I don't get, like, who the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't understand that level of narcissism.
Well, like I said, that particular religious ideology is like that. The dudes are kind of like all given these magical badges where they can enforce God, what they believe God's will is on other people, and then they're like, it's an alien civilization. You know what I mean? Its cultural values are very different than ours. Not saying anything's one's better than the other, even though I don't like how they treat women. You know, I don't like
well,
that.
me neither.
I got a little friend that I know works over at Starbucks. She's from Iran. A pretty girl. Jen's better. Remember her? Terrorism?
Yeah.
So I've talked to her out there, and she's like, she hates it. Her parents
I would
sent
hate
her
it
here
too if I was born there.
Sent her here to get away from that.
Well, good
Yeah.
for her parents.
Yeah.
They're like, you baby, you get the hell out of here.
Yeah, her parents got her the fuck out of there.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not want to live anywhere that was.
Yeah. And here's the thing, Iran really isn't a bad country. That one's pretty good. It's just that it ends up fucking being, it's pretty repressive for a lot of women. You know what I mean? They got arranged marriages, in certain cases, and it's not the West. You know what I mean? You're gonna be limited to basically being somebody's bride. You know.
The thing about it, like when I was growing up, like my brother, one of my brothers, who's 4 years younger than I am, his best friend when we were growing up was Iranian.
Yeah.
Pedram. And he was over our house all the time. He was a lovely child.
Yeah.
But I think, like, at that time,
Yeah.
that was the 80s.
Yeah, it's been up and down, goes up and down.
So that was more... Because I kind of feel like, well, didn't the... They were kind of more westernized.
Yeah.
Before... When did that...
Before the Shah, before the Islamic Revolution
when did the
happened,
Islamic Revolution happen? When was that?
70s.
87? 80? I thought it was 80s.
No, 70s.
Oh, okay. Maybe
70s. That's when the revolution happened. That's when my mom's sisters were all there. My granddad was there. And he was working for Grumman Aerospace. He knew the Shah and fucking talked to him a lot. They'd go to fucking parties and shit. And what my granddad was doing was setting up the training course for the Iranian Air Force they needed a force of dudes that could work on the F-14 Tomcat. And my granddad built parts of the F-14 Tomcat for Grumman. The fuel injection systems, shit having to do with turbine blades. He was a aerospace engineer. So they sent him there to set up the training academy for their service to train mechanics on that. And he was pretty important in Grumman. And he was there for years, and then that revolution happened. They all got kicked out. One of my aunts was like the last Western woman to make it out of that embassy before they all got taken hostage. They eventually released them all anyway. But Iran, the way it is now, I just saw like a walkthrough in a shopping mall. It looks great, and not all, the women look very Western, but that's because they killed some chick for not having a fucking veil on, and there was basically an uprising, and the government decided they were going to back off of them. So they're kind of letting people have some freedom. You know what I mean? It's a theocracy where religion runs the government.
You try to crack down on people too hard. That's
in
your face eventually.
Persians are not normally they're not naturally Islamic. They were Zoroastrian. Islam is kind of a foreign thing that was kind of imposed on them. And a lot of them don't like it. They kind of want to go back to Zoroastrianism or Christianity, that kind of shit. But most of the people that don't like Islam don't give a shit about any religion, really.
I kind of feel like most people should just be like, fuck religion. It's overstayed its welcome and its usefulness.
Yeah, and all the rich
now
kids.
It's just harmful.
All the rich kids in Iran all live Western lifestyles. They got special places and ski lodges where they're at all year to get away from the shit. where they have a lot more freedom. But like I said, it's enclosed compounds. But if you go look at some of the walkthroughs where they're going through malls and shit. They're good-looking people. The Persians are great-looking people.
CB said if his mom told him being gay was normal and it was okay, he wouldn't have done something so fucked up and evil. He might not have, honestly. If he was, like, raised to be okay with it or they were more accepting, it might have helped. I mean, maybe not. Maybe he was just a psycho, but you never can tell. CB said that would fuck me up seeing pictures of my friends that died a few minutes after taking the pictures.
Yeah.
I think that's what really bothered me. It's like, that kind of always fucks me up too about those videos where they do like, people's last known photographs and stuff. And I'm just like, man, somebody took that picture of them and it's like, they didn't know that like 5 minutes later they'd be dead or whatever. And it's just like, ugh, that like bothers me a lot. So I think that's what bothered me more. I mean, obviously it bothered me like seeing the puddles of blood and everything like, and all the bloody people coming out, but like seeing that girl like, hey, like dancing and stuff like that, and then gunshots in the background, and then knowing that she'd be dead like a few minutes later, that's horrible.
Yeah, it was just some jackhole fucking was trying to put on some kind of facade about him being,
and that could have happened anywhere. I mean, like I said, it occurred to me that when we were at Ibar the following week, it's like some motherfucker could walk in there and do that.
Yeah, the thing is that he chose Pulse because it was publicly a gay nightclub. Even though, probably, me and Jen know the scene in this area. It's probably one third of those clients were in there and people in there working were straight. You know what I mean? So fucking, if he's so pro-straight, why is he shooting up all these straight people? You know what I mean? It's just more clownish behavior.
Shoot up anywhere, or anyone for any reason.
It's just more clownish behavior from a narcissist that thinks he's important.
Yeah, I mean, newsflash, you're not important. No, none of us are important. Or we're not any more important than any other person.
He did that shit and was killed, and the world went right back to the way it was before. He made no difference. His death was inconsequential. It didn't matter.
Yeah. Well, and that's really the best thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I feel like, I think it's better to, like, concentrate on the victims and concentrate, which a lot of people did, like, more in the aftermath of this, than, I realize we talked about this dude a lot, but it's just because I was kind of wondering why the fuck would somebody do something like this? And just a bunch of innocent people that were just out dancing on Saturday night, like we do, like every weekend. It could have happened to any of us.
Yeah. We could have been in there. It's
what I mean. We could have been in there. We very well could have been.
Yeah.
So I think that's why that kind of like really struck home for me. And it's, I don't know. I don't get it. And like I said, they think they're so important that they're going to change things. By doing, you're not changing shit. Like I said, you're not important.
Nope.
No one cares about you.
I came from a military background. I was raised in a military academy and everything. Southern California military in California. And fucking everything is about martial skill and how many enemies you can kill and all. That's not true. You can kill enemies forever and it makes no difference in a war. We killed all kinds of people in Vietnam. Didn't make a difference. Iraq didn't make a difference. Fucking Afghanistan didn't make a difference. Real PhD warfare is information warfare. To control what people see and hear, to get them to believe what you want them to believe so they will behave like you want them to behave. Mind control. That's the ultimate weapon. That's the true weapon of mass destruction, because with that, you can get an enemy to stop fighting. If you're going to go out and shoot a bunch of shit because you're trying to change the world, you're doing exactly the opposite of what you need to do. And you don't have the strength anyway. You're just one man. You might be able to clear out a nightclub, but that's not going to even put a dent in the Earth's population. You're going to go through that shit, you're going to get killed, and you're going to be forgotten. Forgotten like it never happened.
Or you'll be remembered as like one of the worst pieces of shit ever.
But then you'll be forgotten.
Yeah.
People researching it will hear about you, but they don't give a fuck about you. If you
to be honest, I remembered some of the victims' names. I did not remember the shooter's name.
Yeah.
I had to look it up again.
If you really want to change shit, just get a YouTube channel and try to get a bunch of fucking subs. And if you can't get any subs, then you ain't worth a shit.
There's some real idiots have a bunch of subs.
Yeah, that's true. But a lot of times, I look at some of these channels that have a shit ton of subs. Their content is very superficial. There's not much to the content.
That's what I mean. Some
real
idiots,
basic, real. But they're not doing anything controversial, really.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people just like watching stuff.
They're just watching stuff, like, hanging out in
You
LA.
know what's weird? It's like I like a lot of obviously I watch a lot of horror shit. I watch Halloween kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But something I got kind of really interested in for whatever reason is people who go to the store and they'll be like, I'm going to make a week's worth of meals for $5. And then I see what they make.
Yeah.
Because I guess it's like a kind of a form of creativity. I'm just like I gotta see how this fucking works out. So for some, I subscribe to a bunch of channels like that, with like people that go to like Dollar General. Yeah. Like there was one chick that she went to Dollar General and wanted to do like a Thanksgiving dinner for like under $10 or something, and she did it, and it looked okay. Like obviously it wasn't, ideal, but it would do in a pinch if you really didn't have any money. Yeah. And I was like, that's kind of cool though, because that's like actual practical information, that you could use. And I'm just kind of interested to see what they come up with. I don't know why I like those so much, but I do.
Like the example I like to use about why you really don't need to use force if you're trying to get an idea across. The example I like to use is Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. He was a very intelligent dude. He was crazy, but he was very intelligent. Harvard, wrote a fucking manifesto that had a lot of true stuff in it about the way corporations work. He was afraid that they would basically make replicants and androids and shit, and fucking that AI would take over. They were all legitimate concerns. But he tried to assassinate the leaders of these corporations using these letter bombs. He wounded some of them and killed a few of them, but achieved nothing. Except he came across looking like a fucking madman in a fucking wooden shack somewhere. Had he waited long enough, YouTube would have appeared. And fucking radio. He just would have been on Alex Jones or something. Alex Jones says very similar shit, but Alex Jones isn't blowing people up. He's just talking.
That we know of.
No, he's not blowing anyone up. He's just talking. And information is where it's at. That's how you that's how you get people aware of what's happening. And fucking the things that Kaczynski were talking about were legitimate concerns about where technology is going. But he shot himself in the foot when he fucking went to violence. Just
dumb.
I mean,
that's kind of the stupid thing about any kind of terrorism is that
it's counterproductive.
Generally
it's counterproductive. Right.
Because it's just kind of like, even if you had some good ideas and you had legitimate reasons for what you did, the fact that you did something so horrible, everyone's going to be like, they're not even going to listen to anything you have to say now, even if you had some legitimate points. And now they're not going to listen to that because you're a terrorist.
High echelon, best bang for the buck, weapon of mass destruction weapons is information warfare. That's PhD level warfare. That's a war you can actually win because you've changed people's opinions. But your shit's got to be good and it's got to be true. If it's not true, it never stands the test of time. And Kaczynski could have just launched information warfare. Had his own fucking radio channel, or his own radio station, or maybe a cable TV, access cable TV.
People might have still thought he was a nut, but he probably would have.
He would have had a much bigger impact.
He'd had a lot more sympathetic audience.
Yeah, he would have been like that one dude that we did the show on. He was kind of like the precursor to fucking Alex Jones. What was his name? Fucking Ted Gunderson.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Ted Gunderson, he was a mixture of fucking oddball shit and fucking maybe some truth to it. He could have been like that. And Gunderson was kind of from that era. But he wouldn't have been killed. He would have been free. So he'd have been an old man, probably fucking a guest on a damn Alex Jones. That's what he would have been. And he'd have been a lot more effective.
Yeah.
People go, yeah, man.
It's like, but it's people like that. It's like they'll have one or two like legit like good ideas, but then like it's wrapped in this burrito of craziness. A lot of times, I feel like.
Yeah, a lot of times. Kaczynski, I would say...
He's like, they're right about one or two things, and then they believe all this other crazy shit.
Kaczynski was pretty controlled. He was smart. He kept it under wraps. What made him crazy is that he thought he could have a one-man bombing campaign and change it. That's just, no. You're not. And then you're destroying fucking... You're shooting yourself in the foot. The message you're trying to bring is now invalid. Because you killed people over it.
Yeah.
And the public's going to reject it, even if it's true. Basically, all he's talking about is what Ridley Scott's talking about. That corporations will eventually fucking like patent the human genome and make fucking genetically altered human beings that are like designer human beings that they would own. They would be intellectual property, that kind of shit. Androids, AI that fucking just that makes everybody obsolete. That's kind of the
which, like I said, are legitimate concerns.
Legitimate, yeah.
But if you didn't come off like a crazy bomber person, then maybe people would actually
listen to him. Right? Yeah.
Why don't you use like all those smarts to like write a book and like go on the lecture circuit or something like that? You're gonna get a lot farther like that than just blowing up random ass people.
Yeah, and then he was saying he also was pissed at the food production that they were using genetically modified seeds and organisms that did real well in crops, but they were patented, so other people couldn't share and grow those crops in their own homes. That they weren't improving.
Yeah, again, a legitimate concern.
That they weren't improving the biosphere, that kind of shit. You know, what I mean, that they were doing it for profit. So, that they were making living creatures their own intellectual property, which he thought was immoral. You know, which okay, I can go with that.
Yeah, like I said, that's a legitimate concern.
You're right. Yeah.
Like I said, if you just talked about that like a normal fucking person instead of mailing people bombs, then maybe people would listen to you. He
blew some dudes up and then ended up getting some shit printed in Penthouse, which that made him look bad. It was a Penthouse. It wasn't a Wall Street Journal.
Right.
It was Penthouse. Okay.
Like I said, no one's going to take you seriously.
He failed.
No one's going to take you seriously. So there's other ways to go about that. There's better ways to go about that. That's like legitimately the worst way.
Yeah, the worst. Don't
and
use
not
violence.
and not just because it's morally reprehensible. It's also ineffective.
Violence should only be used for the defense of others, and it's on the spot, unplanned. Somebody gets attacked, you fucking help them. Somebody fucks with you, attacks you, you fucking help yourself. That's all. Anything other than that, man, you start getting into fucking legal and social fucking problems.
Yeah.
You kill one enemy, your enemies now multiply because now all the cops and lawyers are after you, and all the friends of the dude that you killed are after you. You know, it's just it's best to fucking keep your hands and keep your bullets to yourself. You only pull that shit out.
To yourself.
You only pull that shit out when it's fucking in an emergency.
Phantom says, what happened to the killer's body? Was he buried in the cemetery or did he just have his ashes scattered? He was actually buried in the Muslim cemetery in South Florida. Okay. In Hialeah Gardens. I'm sure there was a lot of protest about that, but they did actually bury him there.
Probably not. I wouldn't be protest about that. He buried in a Muslim cemetery. Nobody probably gave a shit about that.
What if anybody went and dug his ass up later and chucked him out?
He was forgotten.
We don't want his ass.
They didn't go after his family.
Well, like I said, I kind of feel like, and that's why nobody really gives a shit about this anymore. But like, because we talk a lot about true crime and stuff, and we always kind of like make fun of the serial killers and like shooters like this and stuff like that. But honestly, you can't lionize them. You can't legitimize the shit that they did because that's what they want. They want to be glorified. Yeah. Don't do that. Like, bring them down a peg. You know what I mean? Just fucking laugh at them because they hate that. I mean, this dude's dead. He's not fucking.
I'm talking about Epstein's Island, Little St. James. Yeah, we did. I think we did a show on that, me and Jim.
We did a show about Epstein a long time ago.
The best I can figure out is that Operation Paperclip, going back in World War II, the Germans, we were stealing all the best Germans. Most of them were rockets. If they were a good German, fucking, they knew about rockets and shit. Fucking, we were gonna steal them. We didn't want the Russians to get them. But what they don't tell you is that we got a lot of guys from their intelligence agencies from World War II. Nazi versions of the CIA, basically. And evidently they brought into the United States through Operation Paperclip some techniques that our intelligence agencies are using. And one of them is to involve getting blackmail and leverage on people. The old school American way to get leverage on a motherfucker is to get pictures of him cheating on his wife, or you get pictures of him in gay sex type shit. But in Germany, that wouldn't have worked because they were going through, they were in the Weimar Republic fucking phase where there's a lot of prostitution and a lot of shit was going down. You really couldn't use that as blackmail against a German. But what you could use as blackmail against a German is pedo action. So, evidently what the German intelligence agents were doing way back in the day is going into orphanages and get little kids and training them to be sex operatives and getting them to make moves on dudes, have sex with them, and then you get pictures of it, and now you own them. So that ended up starting to come into our system. We brought them in through Operation Paperclip. And then eventually it turns into basically a gang. A gang of people at the very top that are joining a basically Spectre from fucking 007, basically what you're talking about. And in order to join the gang, you got to go to these islands like fucking Little St. James and have sex with these girls and fucking get it on video, and now they can trust you. That seems to be what they were doing. And that's not the only place. There were other ones. Now, there was a fucking professor that went there. What was his name? He was a Jewish professor. Fuck. Interesting guy. He met Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and he just said it was just the weirdest thing, and he wasn't sure what they wanted from him. But they didn't fucking throw any women at him. And he had the feeling that it was an old school intel operation that was from before the time of cell phones. Cell phones made all that shit obsolete. Because the girls they were recruiting from Florida here, wouldn't go to that island. They wouldn't let you take their cell phone from them. They just, a modern kid would say, oh, you're not taking my cell phone from, because that's like threatening somebody's life. What are you going to do to me? You can take the cell phone from me. What are you trying to hide? Back in those days, now the girls would want to keep their cell phones. They'd end up communicating and talking and taking pictures. They can't have that. So it wouldn't work in the modern day. I think all that stuff has lost its power. That was old stuff. I think they were started to do that shit back in the 60s. And the idea was to get a control over corporations, the medical industry, science, and universities. That's what they wanted. They wanted total control over them. That way they can control science and use science as a weapon against the people.
All right, let's see. Hugo just showed up. Man, we've been here for like hours and hours. Jen said, I like those videos also, Jen. Like, I guess you're saying the low cost. Like I said, I got fascinated by those. I guess because Tom cooks a lot. And so I'm always kind of interested in what he comes up with. Like, it's like, hey, I found this in the pantry and this in the refrigerator and this is left over. And then he makes something really good with it. So I'm always kind of like fascinated by that kind of stuff. And so I got into all the challenge stuff where they're like, I'm gonna eat for a week on $10, or I'm gonna feed a whole family for $10, or whatever the fuck it is. And it's like, it's interesting to see what they get. I mean, you gotta eat the same shit like over and over, but if you're poor, you don't really have much fucking choice, do you? I guess I'm always trying to kind of like get ahead of shit, unless in case I'm ever that fucking broke. A lot of beans, a lot of bean burritos. That's, you gotta eat a lot of beans and rice, because that's like pretty cheap. So But yeah, so I'm glad Hugo is here. Even though, like I said I've been missing your live shows. I've been busy with work, but I miss you. Oh, we miss you too. We miss you too. Let's see. CB said I got work tomorrow. It's like Canada and Scotland at the moment till the next live stream. Tom and Jenny. Okay, have a good one, CB. Yeah, we'll be back on Friday night. Although it might be kind of a shorter one because I think we got to get a memento on Friday night. I think that's this Friday. Yeah, I gotta check. And man, it's kind of cold.
Yeah.
In Florida. I mean, it's cold for Florida. It's 42 degrees. It says 42 degrees.
Did you want to get a sandwich?
It's up to you. I don't really care one way or the other. It'll be on you. Because you already spent money on food today. You went and got Chinese because you said you didn't feel like cooking.
Yeah.
So.
Let's get a sandwich.
All right. Up to you. They're going to laugh at us like being in there. Our drunk asses. Although, I'm going to say the last time we went in there ordering sandwiches, there was this other kind of rednecky couple in there, and they were way drunker.
They were trashed, yeah.
Holy crap. They were completely trashed.
Yeah.
They were just kind of like, what, you took the last of the bread with the fuck? And I was just like, bro, I'm drunk too, but come on. Like, settle the fuck down. Like, yeah, they were really, really wasted. It was kind of funny. They weren't obnoxious or anything, but it was kind of funny because they were just like slurring and they could barely talk. But yeah, that was like super funny. All right, so I guess we're going to wrap it up for the evening. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show, even though it's a very depressing topic. But I'm glad we finally got around to doing this one because, like I said, this was kind of local to us, and we both remember like pretty vividly when this happened and how shitty it was.
Remember something?
So,
the professor that I was talking about that went and met Epstein. His name was Eric Weinstein, Professor Eric Weinstein. You can find him on YouTube, and you can find his fucking story about going to meeting Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, where they laid the American flag over the glass table and she's jumping up and down with her titties bouncing and shit. He wasn't quite sure what they wanted from him. It's a wild story. He said
I would be like that too. If I went over to somebody's house, I'm like, what exactly?
Yeah, he said like this, and he said in his interview, he goes, I felt like I was in a James Bond movie and that I was dealing with a James Bond villain in real life, fucking, which he kind of was. He worked for the CIA and probably Mossad, same time, double agent.
Bryce Versa said, what kind of Chinese did Tom get? Tom
General
got
Tso's chicken.
General Tso's chicken,
Yeah.
and I got shrimp with cashew nuts and vegetables. It was very, very good. We have a Chinese place like right down the street, but we haven't got anything from there in a long time. But, you know, like I said, Tom didn't feel like cooking for lunch, so he's like, I'll go down and pick it up if you order it. So I was like, okay. So that's what we did. And now we're going to go get sandwiches, of course. All right, so we'll be back for the Friday night show. Like I said, might be a little bit shorter because we got to do Memento on Friday night.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we'll come on and pregame for a couple hours.
Memento's Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
And hang out with you guys. I think, is this Friday?
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
But yeah, so we're going to go to that. So we'll see you guys again Friday night. Thanks for hanging out with us this evening. Thanks for your super chats. Have a good day tomorrow. Good